Pirates Full Level System, Chapter 641 to 660. Chapter 641 Silk Blood Counter Kill Routine. Thump, this heartbeat is not as simple as tossing in the container. At the moment when the heart beat, the entire research base was surprised. A strange feeling just flashed past, and the sound like a heartbeat sounded in their ears, but it seemed to echo directly in their minds. Although short-lived, the feeling is so real and fantastic that no one can take him as an illusion. Vegapunk didn't know that such a change would happen. When he came out of his room, the heartbeat had spread throughout the base and became a well-known secret. It seems that some bad talk and speculation are taking shape at the base. Now it's going to be trouble. In a corner where no one was paying attention, a bitter smile appeared on the corner of Vegapunk's mouth. Momosuke and the others in Calgary couldn't help but look at the direction to the north, and intuitively told him that something must have happened there. Compared with Chinluo, the reaction of the cloaked men in the dinosaur family with armed prosthetics was more obvious. If Chinluo is just a little hunch, these people are completely touched by the heart. No matter where you are in Calgary, what your job is. When their hearts were beating, the heart rates of the 28 people were instantly synchronized, and they also sent out a violent beating. With their hands on their hearts, pea-sized sweat covered their foreheads, and a thing called palpitations spread throughout their bodies through blood. Under the cloak, the prosthetic limbs trembled slightly uncontrollably. The worst was the new number 11. As he was adjusting to his new legs, he only saw the wound on his leg that was about to heal suddenly burst open, and blood spurted out of the wound. The doctor in charge of the operation came to hear the news and saw a corpse lying in a pool of blood. Armed prosthesis is okay, but the part has broken another one. The doctor's report says so. However, Darwin, the current patriarch of the dinosaur family, is obviously not in the mood to read this report at the moment. In a few hours, an impromptu meeting will begin, with the 8 factions that covertly support the Vegapunk research team. And the initiator of this meeting was not Darwin, but the old Vinsmoke. Okay, I didn't even have time to settle the bill with you, you just ran over here. No matter what the hell old Vinsmoke was up to, Darwin was going to make him look good this time. This is a remote conference. With the help of the equipment provided by Vegapunk, plus the phone bug, video conferences are trivial. As the time draws near, the leaders of the 8 forces have come online one after another. It was still the conference room where Chinluo was secretly observed. Darwin was sitting at the head of his original table, and 7 black shadows were projected on the left and right sides of the conference table. A number is displayed on each of the 7 black shadow heads. Within the forces, they used code names to distinguish each other. From 001 to 008, there are exactly 8 forces. The code names are strong and weak. For example, 001 and 008 are not North Blue S forces, 002 is the Kingdom of Germa, and 003 is the dinosaur family. Tell me, 002, why are you calling us? The voice came from the shadow of 008. Because it was a force other than North Blue, he did not receive an invitation letter from the old Vinsmoke, so he didn't know what happened to North Blue. After someone broke the silence, before the old Vinsmoke could answer, various questions and ridicules came. Yeah, I also want to know why 002 betrayed us and released the information related to Vegapunk. You are betraying the interests of all of us. I hope 002 can explain why you still have the face to call us. You can't say that you have done something wrong for a while, come to us and apologize. I can't accept this apology. Mr. Vinsmoke, I also think we have the right to kick you out of this league if you can't give a good reason. Cut out, yes. I said a long time ago that Germa shouldn't be added, the Vinsmokes are a bunch of lunatics. The shadows from 004 to 007 mocked and accused the old Vinsmoke one after another. 001 and 008, as non-North Blue forces, watched the behavior of the siege with pleasure. At the same time, because they were a little worried about their investment, their attitude towards 002 also became less friendly. Except for 003 Darwin and the old Vinsmoke himself, who didn't speak, the scene was completely complete. Actually, I really want to know what 003 thinks. Old Vinsmoke asked Darwin in no hurry to argue. To be honest, Darwin was a little surprised. He didn't understand what medicine was sold in the Fox gourd, old Vinsmoke. At this time, he took the initiative to ask his opinion. There is no difference between this slapstick operation and the initiative to send the head. Old Vinsmoke meant for a while, but Darwin wasn't cowardly at all. He had prepared a lot of things before, and with the start of Tianyu, Darwin would be afraid of him. I can tolerate other kinetic energy, but 002, you shouldn't bring Marine over. Darwin went straight to the point. No matter how much he said before, the word Marine would not be useful. The other North Blue forces are making trouble again, but as long as the 6 North Blue forces in the alliance are united, they won't be able to make much trouble. But Marine is different. It is not only an ensignment from Marine's headquarters, Marineford, but behind them is another behemoth, the world government. Darwin's words brought the anger at the old Vinsmoke to a climax in the rest of the meeting, which made Darwin a little vindictive. The face of everyone's accusations, the old Vinsmoke sneered contemptuously. Come, only belong to the old Vinsmoke routine. Then please splurge on your willfulness and start your performance. So you are a pile of mud that can't support the wall. You always only pay attention to the 1 acre and 3-point land under your feet, and you know about other places. You really think that the Marine team in the headquarters is coming to North Blue? Investigator. Haha, the initial target was Vegapunk. Quote. Old Vinsmoke didn't blush when he said this. If it wasn't for his son's warning, he wouldn't have collected Marine's intelligence to know these things. Then the old Vinsmoke told the secret of Marine discovering Vegapunk and secretly searching everywhere. Then I introduced the itinerary and small actions of Marine after coming to North Blue. Stupid, if I hadn't exposed this matter, you wouldn't even know that your hometown was turned over. Looking at the other 7 who were slumped and silent, old Vinsmoke's heart couldn't tell how comfortable he was. Silk blood counter kill, that's how cowhide is. Chapter 642 Plan Pass. Old Vinsmoke didn't let the 7 go so easily. Words like idiot, pig teammate, etc. emerged from the mouth of old Vinsmoke, caught in some hard-hearted persuasion. Tisk tisk tisk, guess what, those people, like the little daughter-in-law who received the grievances, could feel the shadows representing them shaking with anger through the projection, but they couldn't say a single rebuttal. The old Vinsmoke liked to see that others were obviously angry, but he had nothing to do, and he didn't even dare to speak. Hey, if you have the ability, you can cut me down the network cable. The other 7, including Darwin, no longer had the heart to bother with the old Vinsmoke, and his mockery and insults were just so alive. Were shaking when they heard that Marine's purpose from the very beginning was Vegapunk. This kind of feeling is like in an alley. You are being followed by a stray dog. You may be a little nervous, but you will feel that the stray dog will not necessarily pay attention to you, or come to bite you. But after removing the disguise, where is the stray dog? It is simply a hungry tiger. Tell me what you think, old Vinsmoke, since you've investigated so much and sent out that invitation letter. I don't believe you don't have a follow-up plan. Whether it's North Blue or Vegapunk, we should have the final say, even if neither Marine nor the world government will do. Quote. Darwin compromised with the old Vinsmoke, and the confrontation ended in the old Vinsmoke's victory. The wind turned quickly, and the man who mocked old Vinsmoke before was now praising him for his foresight and broad-mindedness. Enjoying the praise of a group of face-changing monsters, the old Vinsmoke said slowly, "It's very simple. I plan to take this opportunity to hold the North Blue First Tournament in Calgary, using martial arts to meet friends, and use martial arts to stop geeks. What do you guys think? What else can you see with your eyes?" The other 7 people were a little puzzled. What was the North Blue First Tournament? Old Vinsmoke's brain was hilarious. There are also friends who use Wu to meet friends, use Wu to stop Jay or something. It's pure fart. You are the #1 war criminal in North Blue, are you embarrassed to say such a thing? The above is obviously not the point. Seeing that there was no response from everyone, the old Vinsmoke continued. The competition is just a process, the key is the prize. In addition to the bonus, the top 3 will be rewarded with devil fruits, famous knives and weapons. And there are rewards from the 4th to the 16th. As for the rewards, I think. Having said that, the old Vinsmoke sold out and waited until he had enough appetite before letting go. Armed prosthetics, I think 13 of these things are enough to drive the whole North Blue crazy. There were several inhaling sounds in succession. As old Vinsmoke said his plan, the other 7 instantly understood. The competition is just howling, and it's propaganda for armed prosthetics. It is enviable that the first place can get the devil fruit, but it also shows one thing from the side, that is, the scarcity and preciousness of the devil fruit. In contrast, there are 13 armed prosthetics that are not inferior to devil fruits, and have become very eye-catching. Since the organizer can take out 13 pieces at one time, can they still take out 14 pieces and 15 pieces? Does this mean that the armed prosthesis is a mass-produced, powerful weapon? As long as it can be mass-produced, in many cases, the higher price is not a problem. How expensive is it to have the devil fruits that appear in the auction house all the year round, especially when the price of devil fruits has been doubled due to Chin Luo's reasons? Old Vinsmoke doesn't need to say more about the later plans. The rest of the people can guess that a weapons exhibition will be held after the competition. The protagonist of this exhibition is undoubtedly the famous armed prosthesis. Such things like holding a weapons exhibition after a military force competition are all routine operations. No wonder the old Vinsmoke set the location in Calgary. This kind of tournament and arms show really only fits in Calgary at the North Blue Arms Factory. There are 2 problems with this string of old Vinsmoke plans. The people headed by the Danosaur family and the Kingdom of Germa would not officially fall out with Marine and the world government. Well, it seems that the other party didn't intend to let them go in the first place. Vegapunk is not something that can be divided or compromised. The words Darwin had said before suddenly appeared in their ears, and North Blue and Vegapunk had the final say. Well, just do it like this. Kyonglong can't suppress the local snakes. You, a decayed Marine, still want to do something to me. That leaves only one question. Will Vegapunk agree? Make a sufficient number of armed prosthetics in such a short period of time. 006 Sombra said this doubt on behalf of everyone. Hee, don't underestimate Vegapunk. This guy is not that simple, his experiment is the core thing. Obviously he has no intention of handing it over to us. So we just have to force him and give him enough material will do, old Vinsmoke said casually. You sent someone to sneak into the research base. 004 Sombra knew that he had made a blunder just after he finished speaking. Which one of you here didn't send someone in? It was just a matter of how often and how quickly the news was delivered. And the situation is exactly as the old Vinsmoke said. Of the 9 glass culture tanks in the research base, 8 of them are for training armed prosthetics for 8 forces, and the last one belongs to Vegapunk himself. This is no problem, but we need more materials. Ignoring the embarrassing 004 Sombra, Darwin and 007 Sombra agreed to this matter after discussing it. One of their 2 forces is responsible for material transportation and the other is responsible for base management. It's okay. I guess the Dinosaur family has been having a hard time recently, so I prepared a batch of materials in advance. Doll 3.9 Wen was even more apprehensive about the old Vinsmoke, who knew everything about the list of materials and the situation of the Dinosaur family. Okay, Darwin cut a word out of his teeth. Suddenly thinking of something, the old Vinsmoke said leisurely, to provide a piece of information for free, it's not just Marine who is eyeing Vegapunk. The Don Quixote family, who has been very noisy in recent years, is also paying attention to this aspect. The destruction of Marine Base and the destruction of Dinosaur, all the troubles of the Earl family have recently had his shadow. After speaking, the shadow representing the old Vinsmoke disappeared, and he went offline. The meeting became a little embarrassing, and 004 Sombra was trembling with anger, and everyone knew that old Vinsmoke's last words were aimed at him. 004's forces are now allies with the Don Quixote family. Chapter 643 Invitation to the Tournament. There is also a lot of water in so-called ally relationships. As we all know, the strong rise of the Don Quixote family was driven by ruthlessness and various conspiracies. As a neighbor of the Don Quixote family, 004 was quickly beaten. It became an ally who absolutely obeyed the command of the Don Quixote family. Superficial allies, you know everything. Darwin was recently stunned by the Don Quixote family. Because of the first hatred of the Kingdom of Germa, he did not attack 004. But now that the old Vinsmoke is offline, don't expect him to show a good face to 004. Who knows what role 004 will play in this time. With a hum, the image representing Darwin disappeared. Facing this awkward and weird atmosphere, the remaining 6 people looked at each other and went offline one after another with bitter smiles. With the projection system turned off, the only light source in the conference room, Darwin was plunged into darkness. Darwin's face was expressionless, and he kept his hands on his chin in a thinking posture, not knowing what he was thinking. A minute later, a beam of light broke through the dark curtain and came in, and it was the butler who pushed open the door of the conference room. But the light didn't last long, and after the housekeeper closed the door again, the conference room turned black and monochrome again. Homeowner. The housekeeper greeted softly and stood silently behind doll 553 when. He knew very well that his owner liked to think in darkness and silence, and he must not be disturbed at such a time. A long while, Darwin said, "Housekeeper, what do you think the goals of those in the Kingdom of Germa are? How many secrets did they know about the research base?" Compared with Marine, Darwin was more afraid of old Vinsmoke. The housekeeper was at a loss for words, and he couldn't answer either of the 2 questions. Isn't this difficult for a strong man? Does the owner think that the one is really for the alliance? Darwin shook his head decisively. In that case, no matter what the other party's purpose and plan are, isn't it harming the interests of the dinosaur family? There is no room for 2 tigers in one mountain. That's what the butler means in the words of the housekeeper. There is no need to consider what the other party is for. There is only one title of the North Blue First family, and in the process of competing for this title, all encounters are enemies. The butler's answer did not satisfy Darwin, and the only effect was to help him make up his mind. Go ahead and let everyone get ready to meet Marine and prepare for the upcoming competition. Besides our side, we have to prepare some more people to participate in the competition. Darwin's first no order is easy to understand, and now that Calgary has become the center of the whirlpool, the dinosaur family must prepare in advance, even for battle. As for the second point, the butler was stunned for a moment, but he understood immediately. At the meeting just now, there was no rule that the forces present were not allowed to send people to participate. Even if they don't necessarily get the champion's devil fruit reward, they won't let go of the 4th to 16th armed prosthetics. As for the candidates for other preparations, it is probably the same purpose. The housekeeper turned to leave, and about the prize, Darwin planned to go to Vegapunk himself. At noon the next day, on a luxury yacht, Chinluo, Olivia, Momoshiki and Tsunade enjoyed top-notch seafood dishes, as well as the warm sunshine, and a little seawater brought by the galloping yacht. Everything is so beautiful, it would be perfect without the old man. After drinking and eating, Chinluo wiped his mouth and said, "Tell me, butler, what is the purpose of the dinosaur family inviting us here? I have something to say in advance. Although I am very satisfied with this short speedboat trip, I would like to ask if it's too much." The implication is that if you ask too much, don't blame me for eating the sugar coating and shooting the cannonballs back. Hee, sir, you're joking. But I do need some little help from sir. It's embarrassing to say that the dinosaur family has yet to find out the identities of Chinluo and the others. They also registered fake names at the hotel, similar to bad street names such as Zhongwei, Bob, and Cindy. It is said that 1 out of every 100 people is called Zhongwei. You say it's scary, not scary. Naturally, the housekeeper would not call Chin Luo by those pseudonyms, which would be a shame. Sir, please look at this. The housekeeper handed Chin Luo two things. In one night, he had figured out the general process of the competition and written it into a document. North Blue's first tournament. Chin Luo glanced at the housekeeper suspiciously. If you want to seduce a Super Saiyan out, I suggest you change your name to #1 Budo Club in the world. Please continue to look down. The housekeeper did not answer, but motioned Chin Luo to continue reading. Convention registration form. You don't want me to sign up, right? Chin Luo threw the documents in his hand on the table and asked speechlessly. Can't you? The owner thinks that only a master like Mr. can shine in the martial arts tournament, and maybe he will meet some interesting opponents. It's not ruled out that the housekeeper's flattery is okay, but if you ask me to participate, I will participate. Wouldn't it be very shameless? In addition, the Dinosaur family decided to invite him, the boss, to participate in this competition of beating children. Chin Luo, who lacked interest in the competition, waved his hand at the butler, indicating that he could not. Sir, the top 3 prizes are devil fruits, famous knives and weapons to choose from. Even the 4th to 16th place will have an armed prosthesis. The purpose of the butler's trip was to convince Chin Luo to participate, so how could he give up easily? While trying to convince Chin Luo with the prize, he was observing Chin Luo's expression, especially when it came to armed prosthetics. The housekeeper did not give up on trying Chin Luo's mind, but he failed again. When he heard the armed prosthesis, Chin Luo's expression did not change. Chin Luo was very upset. Not only was he being tested, but more importantly, he seemed to be despised. What about the 4th to 16th place? Didn't you see that 5-meter-long slap that night? As a person with a bit of strength, I still want to use this kind of words to provoke me. With Ling Lai's killing intent, Chin Luo's eyes swept away from the yacht. In an instant, everyone except the 3 women thumped and fell to the ground. The warm sunlight found the butler's body, but it was like a biting cold wind blowing through him. He finally understood why Red Eye was so embarrassed. Chapter 644 Default. This killing intent lasted for about half a minute, and the people on the yacht felt that they had stepped into Santuchuan with 1 foot, and Chin Luo was able to take it back. Chin Luo looked at the sweaty housekeeper with a playful face, and said softly, "It's even." It seemed that it was fair to say, "You skin, I skin, how fair." The housekeeper's heart is broken. There is a sentence MMP does not know what to say or not. In the end, it was the desire to win that kept the housekeeper from speaking his heart out. But the housekeeper has obviously restrained a lot after that. Now he suddenly doesn't want Chin Luo to attend the meeting. This humanoid monster is 1,000,000 times more ferocious than the most terrifying dinosaur he has ever known. Wouldn't it be the same as throwing him into a martial arts tournament? Tournaments are all about attracting attention and controversy, and a one-sided game that lacks this balance will only lead to ridicule. The butler didn't want to screw up the tournament. The housekeeper suddenly had some doubts about Chin Luo's identity. Could it be? My lord, what I mean is to ask if your subordinate 19 has any suitable candidates to participate in this competition. We are worried that there are not enough participants, and we hope to get your support. After thinking for a while, the butler changed his words. Still want to test me? You housekeeper thinks 1 minute and 60 seconds is too long and wants to reduce 1 second. Chin Luo shook the housekeeper with a subtle look, and he suddenly remembered a poem. Go. Forget it, life matters. Wait, I have a suggestion for you to listen to. Feeling the pressure in the air, the butler quickly stopped. He couldn't bear to be rude, but the housekeeper whispered to Chin Luo's ear. Quote. Chin Luo's expression changed from impatience to calm, and never changed after that. After speaking, the housekeeper looked at Chin Luo nervously. This was the best interest he could put forward, and it was based on his guesses about Chin Luo's identity. 1 minute, or how long, the housekeeper could not remember, but felt that this period of time was a bit long. Chin Luo's response came out. let's do it this way, I'll think about it again, and put it here first. The dangling heart was put down directly. The housekeeper dared to be sure that most of the things were done. Just like just now, Chin Luo refused to be quite straightforward. If he did not participate, he would not participate. In the next time, Chin Luo and the four will continue their journey on the yacht. The housekeeper is rowing a small boat back to the shore, and he still has some people to invite. Butler, how many people do you think it would be more suitable for me to send out? The kind from the top 16. The housekeeper, who had already stepped on the boat, stretched out 5 fingers subconsciously the moment he heard what Chin Luo said. After hearing Chin Luo's top 16 in the second half of the sentence, the housekeeper was shocked at first, but immediately lowered his head and thought, and retracted 3 fingers. 2. Chin Luo pondered after hearing the words. Now it seems that there are only Duo Yuya around him who are suitable for the competition. He must find a way to get 1 or 2 more people. Good housekeeper, I have decided to let them come to you with the registration form. Anyway, the competition will not start now, Chin Luo said casually, and the event of the competition has not been announced to the public. The housekeeper showed him only preliminary documents. However, this kind of competition has not been announced yet, so it is really good to start booking the top 16. Okay, God. At the end of the words, the butler softly mentioned the word, God, which is to carry out the spirit of death to the end, and frantically test on the edge of death. After seeing Chin Luo's unchanging expression, the housekeeper immediately retracted his eyes and slid the boat to flee frantically. Chin Luo glanced at the distant butler. That's all, now that he is in a good mood, spare his life. Back on the yacht's dining table, Olivia leaned over and whispered, that steward has begun to doubt your identity. It should be. Chin Luo shrugged. It seems that I accidentally scared him to pee just now. The unmatched killing intent, coupled with that huge slap, provided crucial evidence for the steward to guess Chin Luo's identity. However, Chin Luo thought that the expression just now should not have been seen by the housekeeper. But even if it is found out, so what? This kind of thing is left to the people of the Dinosaur family to deal with. Really not. He appeared as Lu Yun and took Vegapunk away forcefully. What else could others do to him? As a strong man, Chin Luo undoubtedly has the ability to flip the table, so let's play with these people now. As the invitation letter from Old Vinsmoke fermented, the whole North Blue was watching Calgary's reaction. Those who don't know have been inquiring about the response of the Calgary royal family, and those who know the situation are paying attention to the actions of the Dinosaur family. In the long-awaited, they were looking forward to a notification. Outside the number, the Dinosaur family joined hands with the Kingdom of Germa and other forces to hold the first North Blue Martial Arts Conference. Anyone from North Blue can sign up to participate, and those who are not North Blue can also hold North Blue. A letter of recommendation from the royal family of a famous country in blue went to Calgary to sign up. The competition is scheduled for the 1st of next month. Outside the number. Kuzan opened his mouth wide and looked at the North Blue newspaper he had just bought from a newsboy. The first page and the following pages contained information related to the martial arts competition, and a registration form was attached to the newspaper, which can be said to be quite conscientious. Conscience 963 Ghost. Kuzan threw the newspaper he froze into ice slag to the ground. No wonder even Kuzan, who has always been calm, dead fish face, is so excited. This Kingdom of Germa mean, I just winked at him a second ago, saying that they wanted to join forces to fight the evil Dinosaur family. In the next second, he held a North Blue First Martial Arts Conference with the Dinosaur family. What does this mean? To North Blue as an envoy, Kuzan felt that his brains were not enough. In the past, when encountering such an important task, Sengoku or Garp would always be by his side. The former is very clever, the latter. Kuzan's thinking got stuck again. Anyway, it's the kind of guy who just punches people, and everything will be resolved smoothly after punching. By the way, Uncle Garp took it all by himself. But now the two of them would never be on a mission with him for some reason, and Kuzan felt haggard. "What are we going to do?" "Kuzan is going to Admiral," asked the herald next to Kuzan. "Yes, prospective Admiral, this is a transitional position, not in Marine's official position." After fighting with the media gang in Sabayati Archipelago, Marine made a series of personnel changes in order to stabilize people's hearts. The same goes for the Marine Quasi-Marshal, Sengoku. Chapter 645 Anxious Preparation. Unsurprisingly, Kong will spend his final term as Marshal Marine. As short as 2 or 3 years, as long as 5 or 6 years, as long as there is a suitable time and opportunity, he will take over the post of Commander-in-Chief of the 3 armed forces. And the quasi-words in front of the names of Sengoku, Kuzan, etc. will also be removed at that time. The plan remains unchanged. Continue to Calgary. Write a letter to the head of the Danosaur family, saying that our Marines are here to help maintain the order of the Martial Arts Conference in Calgary, and let them prepare a place to stay. A deep breath, Kuzan stood on the edge of the warship, looking in the direction of Calgary in the distance. He just said was just finding a suitable reason for Marine to intervene in Calgary, but it didn't help the current situation in the slightest. After a month of hard investigation, many signs and evidence point to several North Blue forces. The Danosaur family of Calgary is one of them, and the most troublesome. Calgary at the moment is like the last level of an adventure game, and it is no exaggeration to describe it as a dragon pond and a tiger's den. And the inevitable meeting that was to be held suddenly added a lot of variables. As the top person in charge of this fleet, he must act like a solution. This anxiety forced Kuzan to make a decision. Half an hour later, when Kuzan's adjutant and herald came together to report the letter for delivery, they could not find Kuzan's figure, along with Kuzan's blindfold and bicycle. In Kuzan's room, they found the letter left by Kuzan. "Everyone, I'll go ahead and see you in Calgary in a few days. Everything is going according to plan. After I leave, my adjutant will be in charge of everything in the fleet, and I'm sure he won't disappoint me. If there is an emergency, just call me Bug. Well, come on guys." Quote. Silence. The messenger and Kuzan's adjutant who opened the letter together were frozen in place. The air became a little too quiet, and the sound of the waves outside the room could even be heard. "This bastard." The letter Kuzan left behind was cracked, and Kuzan's adjutant gave a bright smile. This is a process of gradually losing the smile, hideous and anger appearing on the adjutant's face. The herald felt like he was being tormented between Kuzan and his lieutenant. He was just a small herald, and he could not offend either party. Can anyone teach him how to act stupid? Online wait. Very urgent. Then shall we publish the news that Kuzan is about to leave Admiral? The herald asked cautiously, tugging at the corner of Admiral Kuzan's shirt to make him come to his senses. No, Kuzan's adjutant refused on the spot, and at the same time he refolded the letter left by Kuzan and took it back into his arms. Since the prospective admiral left in secret, we should help him hide it. After going out, we announced that the prospective admiral had entered hibernation again. The herald nodded frantically, but can this matter be concealed so smoothly? The herald was skeptical. At the same time, in another sea area, the Don Quixote family's ship was also heading towards Calgary. On the first boat, Doflamingo leaned against the mast with Erlang's legs crossed. A newspaper fell on the ground, and it should have just been thrown to the ground. "Young master, have you decided who will go to the competition?" Beside Doflamingo, a kind-hearted old man said softly. He heard the voice was exactly the same as 004's shadow, so the identity of the old man was ready to be revealed. Doflamingo didn't seem to hear it. He was looking at the sun in the sky with his sunglasses on, not knowing what he was thinking. "Young master," the old man said to Doflamingo after a while. His impatient behavior directly angered several of Doflamingo's fans. Both Torapal and Diamante snorted softly and glared at them with murderous intent. The end. Doflamingo opened his mouth to resolve the situation. At this time, the old 004 man who didn't have much strength only felt that his back was completely soaked. Anyone in the competition? Corazon, my brother, it's up to you to accompany our allies to the competition this time. Doflamingo pointed to a person who was unexpectedly chosen by everyone, and he suddenly patted someone who didn't have any sense of existence. Corazon said. There were noisy voices everywhere, and many officials of the Don Quixote family were vying for this opportunity, but this honor fell to a small transparent body. Even if Corazon is the younger brother of the young master, he cannot change the fact that he is a weak person in the eyes of everyone. A little bit of bad eyes swept across Corazon, which made Corazon a little dumbfounded. He didn't want such an errand. Thanks to the clown lines on Corazon's face, the bitterness on his face was concealed with a smile. The same bitter smile didn't just appear on Corazon's face. Somewhere in the sea, the ships of the red-haired pirates are sailing on the sea, and not far away is the legendary Upside Down Mountain. In order to find crew members who meet the captain's wishes, they have been to Upside Down Mountain no less than 3 times. This time, the target of their adventure is West Blue. Who's calling, Captain? Asked Beckman, who was at the helm. He noticed that the captain of his family became a little depressed after receiving a phone call, and he also noticed Mahawk, the eagle-eyed swordsman who was practicing with his sword. Don't mention it, this time our goal has changed, and we will go to North Blue first. The redhead touched the head with the straw hat, and he didn't know how to say something. Hawkeye Mahawk and Beckman looked at each other, and there were not many things that could trouble this Shanks. Okay, little ones, full right rudder. Target North Blue. Beckman shouted loudly without asking more questions, in the confidence of the captain. Okay, and so did the rest of the red hair pirates. Kuzan, who stepped on the ice on a bicycle, Corazon, who was sent by Doflamingo to follow the 14 men in capes, and a group of people gathered in the square of Germa Kingdom. Only teens. There are all kinds of murderous people, either alone or in groups. These people have only one destination, Calgary, where the first North Blue Martial Arts Conference was held. And in Calgary, after the information about the Budo tournament was announced. At the junction of the civilian area and the wealthy area, a square was let out as the venue for the next month's martial arts conference, a ring with a length and width of 400 meters, and the surrounding audience are being stepped up. Everything was going on at the fastest speed, and although it was strange, no one questioned the grand occasion of the martial arts conference a month later. Chapter 646 Find a Stick. That's 2. Kuzan felt an indescribable force driving him to do it, and it wasn't exactly what he wanted. Of laughter, Kuzan hummed a little song and started making his own smoothie. He quietly comforted himself that all he was doing now was to hide his identity and obtain the funds needed for the operation. 4 signature smoothie packs, Kuzan. A voice suddenly sounded in Kuzan's ear. Voice was so small that even Kuzan could barely hear it. Kuzan's movement paused and stopped. Kuzan raised his head to look at the nearest guest. He must have said that just now. It was a completely unfamiliar passerby face, with a high protruding forehead and a bushy beard. But from the playful eyes of the other party, Kuzan could be sure that the other party really recognized his identity. Kuzan's emotions are obviously a little excited. The tension of being identified, and the faint sense of danger from the other party, make Kuzan's ability uncontrollable, and ice thorns the thickness of a toothpick poked from under his palm. Go out. Hey, boss, don't be stunned, it's not that I'm not giving money, hurry up and do it, there are so many people lining up behind. With the beard and padded Kuzan, those ice thorns poking out of the palm disappeared instantly. Kuzan is also a shocking spirit, and instantly got out of the dangerous state just now. It's dangerous, since the frozen fruit broke through. It was the first time that Kuzan experienced this kind of almost runaway feeling. Gratefully glanced at the mysterious and strange bearded man in front of him. Without the help of the other party, Kuzan would probably go wild. Not only will Kuzan's identity be exposed, but the entire Crown Beach will be stained red with blood. It was an unacceptable scandal for Marine in media-packed Calgary. Kuzan broke out in a cold sweat, and at the same time realized that the other party did not intend to expose him. Quickly making 4 larger versions of the smoothie and placing them in front of the Beard, Kuzan said, "Thank you. I'll take those 4. Beard had no intention of accepting the offer at all, and left with a chuckle, leaving a large denomination note. The amount of the note is not the point is what is written on the note. On the back of the note, some information about the Danosaur family, the Kingdom of Germa, and Calgary was written on it in very small letters. But it's just the information some bearded people want Kuzan to see. By the way, boss, I suggest you go to number 223, J. Kuro Block, where an ice sculpture master is being recruited. I think you can try it." After that, the bearded man waved his hand away without taking a cloud with him. Number 223, J. Kuro Block. Taking a glance at the dense words on the back of the banknote, Kuzan quickly stuffed it into his pocket while reciting the address in his mouth. Of course, this address is not a cold drink shop, let alone an ice sculpture master. It is the secret residence of CP members of the world government in Calgary. Marine wants Admiral to sell smoothies on the street because he has no money. It's ridiculous, and the Beard is showing him a clear way. Somewhere on a private beach, Momosugi, Olivia and Tsunade are enjoying the sea, sunbathing in sand. After someone appeared, Olivia, who was lying under the umbrella reading a book, said, "Where did you go just now?" Passing the 4 smoothies in his hand, Chinluo returned to his original appearance and pouted at the smoothie, indicating that he had just bought this thing. Who just made some kind of PY transaction with Kuzan is Chinluo. The full-scale cross-dressing ability has always been tried and tested. Except for the women's clothing boss, Chinluo can perfectly control all kinds of characters. Kuzan was discovered on the first day he arrived in Calgary by Duo Yu also. As for the note and address, of course Duo Yu also provided it. There is no free lunch in the world, Chinluo will not provide free news for Marine. The cost of a message is in the message itself. Chinluo needs Marine as a shitstick to cause chaos for the many forces in Calgary, but he can't let Marine force these forces to jump over the wall. So it is very important to give some information and some misleading information. Most of Marine and the world government's intelligence personnel have been cut off by Chinluo and the Dinosaur family, which also means that Kuzan's intelligence sources largely depend on Chinluo's alms. So regardless of whether Kuzan believed the true or false information he sent over, Marine would become a stick in Chinluo's hands, specially used to beat the dogs in Calgary. Marine Admiral's special smoothie, you deserve it. Chinluo's introduction made several women interested, and then Chinluo introduced Kuzan's smoothie sales, which aroused a lot of sighs. Chinluo, why don't you just grab Kuzan and keep helping us make smoothies? The smoothies made from frozen fruit are much better than normal ones. Momosugi said with a foodie face, and the other 2 women agreed. Nod. What words? Others are the Marine Admiral in the future. Did you arrest them as soon as you said they were arrested? Did they lose face at all? Even if I, Chinluo, are bored to death, it is impossible for me to do such absurd things. Thinking of this, Chinluo dug a spoonful of smoothie and put it in his mouth. Really ice. Wait, Momosugi, should we discuss Kuzan's salary? We can't let others work in vain. Chapter 647 The Thug has arrived. The popular smoothie stall has disappeared, which is undoubtedly bad news for many foodies who came here after hearing the news. Some well-informed people even rushed to the Jikiro neighborhood to find the non-existent cold drink shop. For many foodies, there is always some disappointment, but for the whole of Calgary, the disappearance of a smoothie master is tantamount to throwing a small pebble into the sea, without causing any waves. Didn't Kuzan go to the world government spies? Of course not. On the night Kuzan came to the door, the remaining world government spy was like a frightened bird, and immediately evacuated this hiding spot, under the eyes of Tayuya. But it was all in vain, and such relocation occurred no less than 3 times in the following days. Whenever they moved to a place they thought they were safe, Duo Yu also always sent sincere greetings and gifts at the right time, wishing them a happy housewarming. Such as some scattered news and the like. This made the agents of the world government and Kuzan himself have to move their bases immediately, while they were pleasantly surprised to receive information. It was just 3 things. After transferring 3 places one after another, the agents of the world government resolutely gave up this meaningless behavior. From initial panic to numbness, they finally accepted Yuya's intelligence assistance as if they had accepted their fate. No way, the information that Taiyu also passed over was probably their last source of information, no matter if it was true or not. Even if it is fake, they have no way to verify it. At least half of them are in a wanted state, and the rest have no way to approach the Dinosaur family. Can imagine how ugly Kuzan's face is now, thinking that he has found an organization, but the situation has not changed at all. So Calgary is missing a smoothie shop owner, but a bounty hunter named Iceberg is back. Before the official start of the competition, there will be a large number of forces to contact each contestant. This includes not only the media and casinos, but also some forces with ideas for armed prosthetics. Kuzan used the contestant's name to hang out in various bars and parties. For Kuzan's behavior, Chinluo's evaluation is one sentence, that is, he thinks too much. If you rely on some gossip, you can get the exact information on the Danethal family and Vegapunk. You also didn't have to stay in Calgary for more than 2 months. This situation has not changed even after the arrival of the Marine Fleet, and the status of the blind and deaf has not changed because of the increase in the number of people. Fatty, tell me how you are doing. In Fatty Sis' room, Chinluo sat on the sofa and asked casually. Today is the day when the Red Hair Pirates arrived in Calgary, and Chinluo had instructed Fatty C to prepare for the Shanks group a few days ago. This included booking rooms and berths for Shanks and his party, as well as arranging their future races. This kind of trivial matter is naturally the most appropriate to throw to the fat man. The old fritters who have been in Calgary for more than 10 years are not covered. Everything has been arranged, I will pick up those guests later. Standing beside Chinluo, Fatty C kept wiping his sweat with a handkerchief. He had just received Chinluo's call and hurried back, sweating all over his head. Okay, when they arrive, you first arrange for them to rest and register for the competition. If they have any special needs, try to meet them as much as possible. Under Chinluo's arrangement, Fatty C became the full-time housekeeper of Shanks and his party, but Fatty C had no objection. He didn't know Chinluo's identity before, but with more contact, he also realized that this adult seems to be more than strong and simple. With Fatty C busy, Shanks and the others were sent to the prepared hotel as soon as they arrived. The fatigue of traveling for many days was finally relieved. The red-haired pirates were the thugs invited by Chinluo. There are 3 people in the Red Hair Pirates participating in the martial arts conference this time, Shanks, Beckman and Mahawk. On the way here, Shanks had already told Chinluo's request to his companions. But in the end, only the 3 of them were interested or confident to participate. Shanks seems to be quite interested in this novel martial arts conference, and Hawkeye has taken a fancy to the swordsman masters that may appear at the martial arts conference. Beckman's eyes glowed when he heard that the top 3 prizes included weapons, as if his rifle could be updated. The matter of registration for the competition was also handled by Fatty C with them. The main problem is the registration of Beckman and Shanks. They are not from North Blue. If you want to register, you need a recommendation from a royal family in North Blue. Shanks came all the way after receiving Chinluo's call. How could he still have time to get this thing? But this is not a problem. Calgary has a royal family. Although it is down, the proof of others is absolutely valid. Some people just need a little help to become famous, and Calgary's royal family says they're more than happy to offer such referrals if you're willing to spend a small amount of money. Calgary's recommendation letters are printed in piles and piles like this, with a clear price. Hawkeye Mahawk, and Duoyu also took him. 0. Unlike Shanks and Beckman, who competed in the name of the Red Hair Pirates, Hawkeye and Tuyuyu were loaned to the housekeeper by Chinluo. This is also what Chinluo and the housekeeper agreed upon. As for whether to break into the top 16, Chinluo never thought about it. Not to mention Tayuya the ninja, Shanks and Hawkeye, a future 4 sovereigns, a future #1 swordsman in the world. As of now, the proper protagonist-level characters of these 2 people are the kind who break through and kill after being abused. Chinluo even felt that at the moment when Shanks participated in the competition, the champion had already been determined. After all, a certain metaphysical hat was now being worn on Shanks' head. You are also a swordsman. Which genre did you major in? Would you like to make a gesture as a way of greeting between swordsmen? If Shanks was here, he would definitely fall down in surprise. Is this still the cold eagle eye? No matter how you look at it, it looks like an annoying fly. Along the way, Hawkeye followed behind Tayuya and kept asking questions, but Tayuya had no intention of replying. Hawkeye's few patience was quickly worn out by Tayuya's ignorance. After a sprint, he rushed in front of Tayuya, and Hawkeye pulled out the cross sword behind him and aimed it at Tayuya. The position of the blade's tip corresponds to Tayuya's neck. Draw your sword, if you're still a swordsman. Chapter 648. Always the trick. Draw your sword, if you're still a swordsman. Hawkeye's icy voice didn't falsify anything, especially since the 2 of them were still on the same street. The passers-by all over the street heard Hawkeye's sword-drawing declaration. Coupled with Hawkeye's unsheathed sword, he is obviously going to come for real. Fear, panic, it doesn't exist at all. As more and more people signed up for the martial arts conference, such battles and discussions occurred more frequently. Anyway, Calgary, as North Blue's munitions factory, is not a peaceful place. The inhabitants of Karkiri quickly recovered from their initial consternation and let it take its course. Ho, there is another good show to watch. The passers-by split quickly, providing a dueling coterie for the eagle-eyed Mahawk and Doyu, who took center stage. Especially after finding out that the 2 sides of the duel were a pair of handsome men and beautiful women, and they were both swordsmen, there were even people nearby who came to join in the fun. Some bold ideas appeared in the minds of passers-by. For example, the male swordsman pursued the female swordsman hard and failed, became angry and wanted to kill. Another example is the swordsman couple. The man was brutally beaten by the Tauren, and decided to no longer forgive the woman. Maybe, forget it, brain holes are infinite, and in just a few dozen seconds, countless versions have written the background for this duel. The question is, when will these 2 start? Hey, female swordsman, you still can't move, the other party has been pointing the sword at your neck for a long time. The melon eaters looked like they hated iron but not steel, so they almost pulled out the sword from their waists instead of Tayuya. However, as the parties involved, Tayuya and Hawkeye's feelings are somewhat different from those of passers-by. Hawkeye was embarrassed at first. On the one hand, he regretted his recklessness. On the other hand, he felt that Doyu looked down on him too much. He had been drawing his sword for half a minute, and the other party still had no intention of responding to him. Hawkeye's hand holding the knife even trembled a little, but of course it wasn't because he was tired. You are still not a swordsman. Regarding this question, Tayuya also really wants to say that he is not here. She is a ninja, from beginning to end. The saber around her waist is simply an ornament, and the number is not even as good as the kunai shuriken, which are commonly used weapons by ninjas. But this answer is definitely not acceptable, let alone on the street now. Doyu also made a lot of fame in the world recently and gained a lot of fans. Maybe some people present recognize this, daughter swordsman of sound. During this silent time, Doyu was thinking about how to deal with Hawkeye's words. She had seen the difficulties of these swordsmen in the past few days. Swordsman, if your sword is only drawn for such superficial reasons, I have no intention of fighting you. Saying that, Tayuya also continued to walk forward, regardless of the cross sword that was held 1 meter in front of her. Tayuya also seemed to be sending his neck to the blade. Exclamations came from everywhere, and it seemed that the next moment, a large amount of blood would be sprayed from the snow-white neck of the female swordsman. This is a duel about momentum, and the loser is obviously Hawkeye. When Tayuya's neck was about to hit the cross sword, Hawkeye retracted the sword and made way for Tayuya. Hawkeye thought he could see the expression of smug or contempt from Tayuya's expression. But there was none, and Tayuya walked past Hawkeye with a blank expression, as if nothing had happened just now. This is so superficial, isn't everyone doing this for the name of the world's greatest swordsman? Hawkeye gathered his courage and swung the cross sword over again, and stopped at Tayuya's neck. On the left side, you can even feel the cold killing intent from the sword's edge. And it's exactly what the Hawkeye Mahawk said. In order to hone their swordsmanship, the swordsmen of the world, in addition to practicing and seeking the guidance of famous teachers, the most direct way is to challenge the strong, and challenge the stronger swordsman. This challenge has not stopped even after Hawkeye became the world's largest swordsman. This is the fate of swordsmen in this era. In order to cater to this situation, Tayuya also took the initiative to challenge several kendo gyms at the beginning. But then she didn't need this anymore. There were too many people who came to challenge her, and she couldn't handle it. My sword is only cut out for my own will now. I don't care about this kind of boring fight. This time you really ignored Hawkeye. A road. With a click, the cross sword in Hawkeye's hand fell directly to the ground, and the shock in his heart was beyond words. Cut it out for his own will. Hawkeye muttered in a low voice. Could it be that his previous actions were all wrong? Hawkeye was unwilling to deny the beliefs of himself and countless swordsmen, but he felt that what Tayuya said was correct, and there was a sense of loss that I didn't expect if he was so handsome. No, since my will is to become the world's greatest swordsman, there is nothing wrong with swinging my sword for that. I don't know how Hawkeye did it. He walked out of the dead end so quickly, and he came up with an extremely golden argument. This female swordsman is very different, and Hawkeye has an urge to find out. Before Tayuya's vision was completely lost, Hawkeye quickly picked up the cross sword that had fallen on the ground and ran towards Tayuya. The development of things was beyond everyone's expectations, and it was not only Hawkeye who was handsome. Although there was no real fight, the melon eaters were not at all dissatisfied, and they also witnessed the birth of a suspected sadomasochism. On the same day, the daughter of sound, Janao, once again became famous for North Blue with her classic quotations. In the world, there is no eagle eye who regards the sword as everything, only the eagle eye who draws the sword for his own will, willing to be a licking dog. Alas, since ancient times, the deep feelings cannot be retained, and the routine has always won the hearts of the people. The future world 2.5 number 1 swordsman is planted. The Dinosaur family deserves to be the true rulers of Calgary, where they are extremely well informed. Hawkeye and Tayuya had just arrived, and the conversation had already reached the butler's ears. Hawkeye Mahawk, and Tayuya, the daughter of sound, it's my honor to meet you too. Earlier, Chin Luo had already told the housekeeper who he had sent. But the first time we met, the butler was still amazed. The former was a peerless sword that was unsheathed, while the latter was like a deadly weapon hidden in its sheath. Although not well known, the butler did not doubt the strength of the two. Thinking of this, the butler immediately handed over 2 special entry forms. Not much to say, after the 2 of you fill in the information above, the registration is complete. Chapter 649 Strange Institute. Special registration form like this have in the hands of the 8 forces headed by the Dinosaur family and the Kingdom of Germa. After all, it is the organizer, and a little privilege is always there. The biggest difference between these special registration forms and ordinary ones is that there are icons on the forms to distinguish the forces. This martial arts conference has 3 stages: audition, points competition and final knockout. Coupled with the fact that there is no limit to the level of participants, the number of people who actually participate will be very large. Each faction has also arranged a large number of subordinates to participate in the competition. As far as the 6 forces in the known alliance located in North Blue, at least 10 forces will be dispatched, which is almost most of the armed prosthetics in their hands. And other North Blue forces will also make up a team of more than 5 people. Although the probability is very small, it is not possible to send a competitor from its own faction or a player from an inter-alliance faction to collide. At this time, the special registration form will be used. The contestants on the registration form belong to their own people, especially those of the same faction, and they will never meet before the knockout rounds. Perhaps seeing the confusion of Tayuya and Hawkeye, they came over just to fill out a registration form. The housekeeper and the 19 duo patiently shared the special features of this entry form. There are oddities that may not be apparent to eagle eyes who have just arrived in Calgary, but to Tayuya the table looks a bit dazzling. It's also because the housekeeper didn't think much about it, thinking that duo Yuya and Hawkeye were just the substitutes brought by Chin Luo to reveal such a flaw. But Tayuya is an intelligence officer first, and then a thug. There is no problem with the form, and there is no problem with what the steward said. The problem lies in the sign used to distinguish the forces on the form. That's not the hallmark of the dinosaur family. The symbol of the Denethal family is the profile of a Tyrannosaurus rex with a bloody mouth. Based on this, several vines are wrapped around the frame, which is also the family emblem of the Denethal family. The logo on the registration form for duo Yuya and Hawkeye is a circle with 3 diamonds embedded in it. Although I don't know which force this symbol represents, it is certain that it is not the dinosaur family. The dinosaur family has been busy for a long time, making a lot of promises, but they are busy for others. Taiyu also felt a little weird. There was nothing strange on his face, but he secretly wrote down this sign in his heart and planned to go back and check it out. After taking away the registration form, the housekeeper encouraged the 2 of them and asked them to leave. Miss Tayuya, it's so late, do you want to finish dinner before going back? The poor eagle-eyed Mahawk has never been ignored by Tayuya, and even the name was just heard when Tayuya introduced himself to the housekeeper. Taiyu, who was walking in front, also suddenly stopped and turned around. This gave Hawkeye great expectations, and Hawkeye's stiff expression showed signs of dissolving. Could it be? There is no question at all. Duo Yu also just wants to get rid of the little tail of Hawkeye as soon as possible. Do you want to treat me to dinner? Hawkeye nodded coolly. Okay. The first half of Tayuya's sentence made Hawkeye clench his fists, and he almost shouted, yes, happily. But the voice was swallowed by Tayuya's words before it reached his lips. I'll talk about it when you get the place in this competition. I'll think about it then. Let's say goodbye to it today. See you in the competition. A flute sounded, and Hawkeye only felt that he was confused for a while. There is no other figure of Yuya. Wait, not only was he reluctant to give up, Hawkeye's words also contained deep helplessness, and Duo Yu seemed to have left him alone in the Calgary disturbance. Who I am, where am I, what should I do? Facing this completely unfamiliar city in front of him, Hawkeye was deeply helpless. Cherno Institute, the most famous and mysterious institute in North Blue, at least until Vegapunk's research team came to light, was completely fine. The information in Chin Luo's hands is all about the Cherno Institute. Duo Yu also quickly investigated the 3 diamond-shaped signs embedded in the circle after getting rid of the eagle eye, and spent a day collecting all the relevant information and handing it over to Chin Luo. It is said that the Cherno Institute is named because many North Blue institutes were funded by Cherno, and even more than half of the institutes have the sign of Cherno, including several famous ones in Calgary. The Institute of Firearms and Weapons. As for the mystery, it is because there are so many branches and research institutes, but the high-level executives of Cherno have never appeared in public. Some said that the director of Cherno was a white-haired old man, and some said that he was a 2-meter strong man, with so many contradictions that there was no set number. But these are all speculations. Although both parties swear and frankly say that they have met, there is no evidence. The director of Cherno's Research Institute never showed his face, and instead of him, it was the security team of the Research Institute in the hands of the director who was active in North Blue. This security team is probably the toughest security guard on North Blue. This kind of prestige is not spoken, but typed. This security brigade is good at using all kinds of advanced firearms and weapons of war. The most memorable one, a 300-person pirate group was ordered by the 903 Security Brigade after looting a research institute under the protection of Chernow's Sky Lantern. The 300th pirate crew, along with the pirate ship and their old nest, were reduced to dust in a big explosion. And it is such a force that has its own power in its hands, but it has found the Dinosaur family and asked it to help him find a substitute. It is not normal no matter how you look at it. In particular, this Chernow is also one of the forces that secretly funded Vegapunk research. Naturally, nothing can be analyzed by relying on the information in hand. So that night, Chin Luo accompanied Duo Yuya to visit Chernow's largest research institute in Calgary. Facing the endless and unheard of high-tech methods of Chernow, Duo Yu also felt guilty for the first time since he came to North Blue, so he called Chin Luo together. This institute is located in the center of the factory area, surrounded by various munitions factories. After a closer look, these arms factories are all making artillery shells. What kind of factory area is this? It's basically a powder pile. As long as there is any accident, with the gunpowder reserves of these factories, this area will disappear from the map in an instant. Above the high chimney of a munitions factory, there were two figures lurking in the dark night. As the dark clouds fluttered in the sky, the bright gecko sprinkled down again, illuminating the shadows of the two uninvited guests on the chimney. Not Chin Luo and Duo Yuya, who else could it be? Chapter 650 Dive into the Institute. Chin Luo and Duo Yu were also dressed in black tights and wore a clown mask. The security level of these research institutes and munitions factories is absolutely beyond the standard. This level of security makes some palaces feel ashamed. There are no less than 50 patrol teams going back and forth, plus the monitoring equipment set up. There is no chance for others to sneak in at all. Even when the patrol team is changing shifts, it is impossible to sneak in. The name of cross-monitoring is not worth it, but this monitoring method is quite expensive. But this is not difficult for a ninja. Chin Luo also winked at Duo Yu, who understood that when Gecko was shrouded in dark clouds again, he had already fallen from the top of the high chimney with a leap of his life. A 4 square meter square black cloth was also unfolded by Duo Yu, who was falling, but it was not used as a parachute. As we all know, at the moment when the parachute is opened, the air resistance in the unfolded parachute will produce a huge noise, which attracts attention and is not suitable for diving. Naturally, Duo Yu would not have thought of this. Her black cloth had other uses. The art of psychic. Yuya bit her right thumb in her mouth and whispered in a voice that only she could hear. At the same time, Yuya's right hand was already pressed on the black cloth. With Yuya's right hand as the center, the spell quickly spread out on the black cloth. Then, Yuya's psychic beast was summoned. The psychic beasts that are mostly summoned by psychic techniques also belong to a relatively special category. This is a psychic beast called 3 ghosts. As the name suggests, this type of psychic summons 3 ghosts, which can be summoned at the same time and belong to a whole. The images of the 3 ghosts are different. One of them is holding a thick wooden stick, and the other ghost is topless, his eyes are bandaged, and he is good at using bone claws. The rest of the ghost's upper body, including the head, was wrapped in bandages, and had no arms, and usually used back bump to attack. This time, the only one who was summoned by Yuya was an Oni who used bone claws. The moment the demon was summoned, he was given an order to hug Yuya. As the ghost accelerated in circles for a while, Taiyu was also thrown out in the direction of the research institute. After completing the mission, the ghost turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared into the air. Duo Yu also draws a scoop like a gourd. Whenever she is about to land at a certain height, she will use the psychic technique to summon the ghost again and throw herself out. Since then, even if the security of this institute is strict, it is a matter on the ground, and no one will pay attention in the air. Without any sound and without attracting anyone's attention, Duo Yu also avoided the patrols and surveillance all the way and came to the edge of the research institute. The main reason is that there are too few pirates with flying skills, and even if you can break through the first line of defense through the sky, so what? When you reach the front of the research institute, you will not be blocked by the door of the research institute. The institute doesn't have any windows or back doors or anything like that, and the only way to get in and out of the institute is through the institute's main entrance. Taiyu also had to accept a reality after going around the institute. Then it is very difficult to do. The door of the institute does not use a conventional key. Its lock is a compound lock with fingerprints and passwords. This made Duiyu's skilled lockpicking skills useless. At the entrance of the research institute, there are also 4 security guards standing guard, as well as the equipment that has been monitored all the time. Just like a copper wall, no one can enter. Duoyu was also most afraid of encountering such high-tech things, but in the end he couldn't avoid it. Is this the end of tonight's infiltration? In Tayuya's view, if you don't prepare your fingerprints and passwords in advance, trying to infiltrate this institute is undoubtedly a fantasy. But did Duoyu forget someone? Just when Tayuya had the intention of withdrawing, the door of the research institute opened, and it was gently opened from the inside. Qin-Luo stood at the entrance of the research institute and waved frantically at the place where Duoyu was hiding. If this action is translated into words, it should be like this: "What are you in a daze? Come in, hurry up." At this moment, Tayuya's heart is stunned, and he has a kind of immediate visual sense of 0/5 of the operation. Is the successor of fancy style wonderful? Wonderful. Can you gate of opening? Cannot. This is not over. The final conclusion is that the eggs are useless. On the contrary, Qin-Luo lightly opened the door of the research institute. Duoyu also hurried into the research institute with a confused face. The strange thing is that the surveillance equipment and the security guard at the door are motionless, as if she hadn't seen her intrusion at all. In the end, Duoyu can only explain everything as Qin-Luo's strength. After entering the research institute, there are significantly fewer patrolling personnel and various agencies. After all, this is a place for researchers to work, and it cannot be all traps. The research laboratory in the center of the first floor of the institute is the core part of the entire institute. It was a fairly large room. In addition to being used as a laboratory, the computer in the room also stored a lot of laboratory data. In addition, there were 5 glass tubes standing in the research room at this time, with what seemed to be armed prosthetics floating in them. A failed product, or a semi-finished product. Qin-Luo saw at a glance that the contents in the 5 jars did not belong to the genuine armed prosthetics. They are in a state of continuous cell disintegration, which is much worse than the stable armed prosthetics Qin-Luo has seen. Even so, there are still 3 Rear Admiral-level combat powers guarding the laboratory in person, and it seems that the other party attaches great importance to these technologies. Tayuya, what do you think? My lord, there must be something strange about this. Black question mark. Qin-Luo wanted to ask Duoyu if there was any way to calmly clean up the 3 security guards in the research room. As a result, Duoyu also came to a classic dialogue. Come on, it's up to you. I saw Qin-Luo teleporting one after another, and within a second, Qin-Luo completed the control of the 3 security guards and brought them directly into the illusion of the blood wheel eye. When they wake up, they just act like nothing happened during that time. As if they were predetermined, the 3 people who were controlled by Qin-Luo fell to the ground at the same time. The last means of defense was lifted, and the entire institute was exposed in front of Qin-Luo and Tayuya as if stripped of their clothes, asking for all kinds of information. So the question is, who will use the device in front of you? Qin-Luo and Duoyu also stood in front of the equipment. You looked at me, I looked at you, and were stunned at the same time. Chapter 651 Takeaway. The previous obstacles were not worth mentioning to Qin-Luo, but in the end they suffered from the loss of lack of culture. But Qin-Luo definitely won't admit that his culture is low. It's true that there is a specialization in the art industry. He can't handle it, so can't others. Qin-Luo brought the rescuer over, and he returned to Longgangcheng to bring an Orochi pill. Quick, quick, help me see what information is stored here. About a cup of tea, Qin-Luo pushed the Orochi pill out of the Shinwei space. Orochimaru's face had an obvious look of impatience. This was under the circumstances that Chin Luo personally called him, and it was impossible for him to agree to someone else. Anyone who was called away after 3 days of experimenting and going to bed would be so upset. But this was also Chin Luo's only choice. The other 2 Orochi pills were at the critical moment of the experiment and couldn't leave at all. Orochimaru glanced at the operating table in the laboratory, and immediately tapped several buttons on the test table tentatively. With one drop, the screen on the console screen jumped several times in succession, and turned from the standby state to the working mode. Just this thing, you can't operate it, you need me to come over in person. Waste, how did you train you in the first place? Orochimaru can't say whether Chin Luo's is not, and to Yuya, his subordinate, has become an outlet for his dissatisfaction. Various 970 mockery and scolding came out casually, with Orochimaru's unique disgust tone, as if layers of chills were layered onto Yuya. Uncle Snake is really strict. Seeing to Yuya shivering like a little daughter-in-law, Chin Luo mentally mourned for her, but asking him to take the poisonous tongue of Orochi pill instead of Yuya showed that it was impossible. Orochimaru's hands quickly tapped on the buttons of the console. Those keys that Chin Luo couldn't understand at all, in Orochimaru, it was like playing the piano, and the keys were quite rhythmic. It is impossible to transmit data directly, and this console was designed to eliminate this possibility. This is a device that can only be accessed, and the data is in a very safe and confidential state in the operation console. But can this kind of question fail Orochimaru? Orochimaru took out a video phone bug directly from his arms, placed it on the edge of the screen of the console, and turned on the video recording function. All images on the console screen will be recorded from now on. The next step is simple. One by one top secret documents, technologies, and materials were excavated by Orochimaru and browsed at a very fast speed. I saw the text data tumbling, and the fast-beating text almost became a piece of paste. At this speed, someone with extraordinary vision like Orochimaru can see something. Into Yuya's eyes, it is a group of black spots that are constantly changing. These unearthed documents cured Orochimaru's drowsiness. The initial impatience and casualness were gone, and Orochimaru not only got serious, but even kept mumbling some of his evaluations of the techniques. This idea seems very interesting. Are they pigs? You can't catch such a blatant mistake. Do your best to be clever. Savage practice, crude technology, but unexpectedly close to me in terms of ideas. With the change in the brightness of the screen, Orochimaru's eyes flashed cold light. Whenever Orochimaru is like this, it is a sign that someone is going to have bad luck. Less than 10 minutes, Orochimaru emptied the entire console. After Orochimaru hit a button for the last time, the screen of the console changed back to the standby state. It's all cleaned up, so no traces will be found. Chin Luo asked. Orochimaru nodded and took the influence phone bug into his arms. He had to study the information in it when he went back. Orochimaru licked his lips unwillingly, and out of the corner of his eyes, he aimed at what appeared to be armed prosthetics in several glass jars in the laboratory. No, this will shock the snake. Besides, these are just some failures. Chin Luo stood in front of Orochimaru and directly stopped him. The unpleasantness in Orochimaru's eyes flashed. Failures? No, these are just failures of failures at best, don't worry. Chin Luo doesn't understand what a failure is called a failure, a slang term among Frankensteins. How can he be understood by an ordinary person? After Orochimaru gave up on an idea, Chin Luo felt a change of subject and said, "When are you going back?" Calgary and Fishman Island are separated by thousands of mountains and rivers. If Orochimaru wants to go back, he must transfer through Chin Luo's divine space just like when he came. Vegapunk is on this island. Orochimaru didn't answer Chin Luo's question, but instead asked a question without thinking. Not here, but for sure, it's nearby. Chin Luo said. If that's the case, I won't go back to Fishman Island. Well, what about the Fishman Island? Chin Luo looked at Orochimaru in surprise. The lab over there doesn't matter, I'll take care of the other two. And what if you encounter this situation again? We don't have to leave every time. Orochimaru's reason is so well-founded, it's no wonder. It is time to prepare for something. Orochimaru, you have started. Shinruo did not reject his scientific research director. With Orochimaru's strength, even if he wanted to do something, Shinruo didn't need to worry about it. The three people who fell to the ground in the research room were helped by Shinruo and returned to their original positions. After a snap of their fingers, the three of them woke up at the same time, while Shinruo and the three had already left by teleportation. The people who were controlled by the illusion did not feel anything different. In their eyes, they just took a little nap, the blink of an eye. As for those monitoring equipment, there was no trace of the three of them left from the beginning to the end. This action has been fruitful. According to Orochimaru, this armed prosthesis is an extension of the Vegapunk lineage factor. It's still a rather crude failure. Armed prosthetics, to put it bluntly, are to intercept some of the abilities of Zone Devil Fruit in the limbs, and then graft it onto the human body. Orochimaru bluntly said that this is not like what the perfectionist Vegapunk would do, and it is probably a compromise. The Cherno faction has obtained part of this technology and is trying to restore the entire process of generating armed prosthetics. However, there is a huge gap in the research level of the two parties that cannot be ignored. Chapter 652 show. On the bright side, the armed prosthesis has a lot of advantages. It can be mass-produced, it is less affected by the CNC stone, the cost is not high, and it is powerful. But any weapon has its own advantages and disadvantages, and as a compromise, the flaws of armed prosthetics are equally deadly. Armed prosthetics have a very short lifespan. There is still a phenomenon of rejection in the transplantation of flesh and blood between people, and the combination of these animal limbs and the human body will only make the rejection more serious. Vegapunk has found a way to temporarily make an armed prosthesis fit in with the human body, but it doesn't solve the rejection problem once and for all. At best, it's just delaying the damage of rejection. When these exclusionary damage accumulates to an explosive level, the consequences will instantly drain the life force of the user and the armed prosthesis. Therefore, even if it is a Buddhist armed prosthesis, the final service life will not exceed 20 years. This is not bad, as another important part, the host of the armed prosthesis suffers much more damage. These hosts simply can't last that time. 10 years, 5 years, or less, the body will be worn down by armed prosthetics, and then die suddenly. This situation may only be solved by the legendary fruit of the operation, otherwise there is no way. Although there had been speculation for a long time, Shinruo was still taken aback when he heard Orochimaru's conclusion. The users of these armed prosthetics perfectly interpret what it means to pretend to force with life. Society. Fatty C once again played the role of his local snake Old Fritters, and after bringing Orochimaru back, he quickly arranged a place for him. Even some strange requirements, such as a hidden location, good sound insulation, and preparing a lot of bottles and jars for experiments, did not stump Fatty. I plan to act alone in the next period of time. If necessary, the adults will call me. When leaving, Orochimaru applied to him for permission to move freely, which made Shinruo a little uneasy. Orochimaru, who was found by Shinruo, was the one who carried out the Konoha collapse plan and had skilled operation experience in some aspects. I, Orochimaru, bring talent to the world of One Piece, King of Pirates. Thinking of this kind of picture, Shinruo couldn't help but get a big head. The time for the start of the martial arts conference is approaching, and the atmosphere in Calgary has reached the most enthusiastic level. Every day, various news related to the martial arts tournament is released, including the information of the popular players to win the championship, lace news and so on. The player power list issued by North Blue's largest casino changes every few hours. Even so, that doesn't stop people from betting on their favorite players. Where there are people, there are rivers and lakes, and where there are rivers and lakes, battles are inevitable. Although the ranking of the casino is not true, but with the attention of North Blue in this martial arts conference, being on the list means both fame and fortune. Driven by fame and fortune, those who are not on the list and those who are on the list, those who are in the back and those who are in the top, are intertwined, and the whole of Calgary can become a battleground everywhere. This phenomenon has not changed even after Marine arrives, and it is still necessary to fight. Speaking of which, the intensification of this struggle is not unrelated to the atmosphere of the island of Calgary itself and the indulgence of the Daniser family. Calgary's main industry is arms. Behind the prosperity, the whole island is full of gunpowder and blood. It can be said that the residents of Calgary love to see this kind of battle between players. Nowhere is this more evident than in Calgary's bar owners, who offer the victor a free drink whenever a fight happens next to their shop. The four main forces, Marine, the Daniser family, the Germa Kingdom and the Don Quixote pirates, don't know what agreement they have reached, and they basically ignore the situation on the island, except for the occasional arrest of Marine. Except for some unlucky ones, Calgary has been in a state of binge trouble. Chin Luo sighed in a low voice. Today Chin Luo, Hawkeye and Duoyu were also invited by the Daniser family to attend an open party. The three of them were accompanied by a curry-scented monk in a turban, a strong man in judo clothes, a wealthy businessman, and a rickety old man. These four were also thugs invited by the Daniser family, and they were affiliated with the Cherno Institute. Among the 7 people in the group, except Chin Luo and the wealthy businessman, they are all among the top players on the casino list. This kind of team is very eye-catching no matter how they walk on the road in Calgary. From the hotel departure to the present, the group of 7 people has not known how many times they have been stopped. There are always people who don't know the so-called challenge. A group of flies. Which judo man answered the question? This man was violent at first sight. In the few waves of harassment just now, he directly broke the legs of several provocateurs. Haha, these people are just blinded by fame and fortune, and they can't make a correct judgment. The monk said with a smile. But no one is going to match the monk. Don't be deceived by his kind-hearted appearance, this is a fake monk. In addition to the judo men, the most ruthless monk is this monk, and every attack is aimed at the fatal part of others. At this time, a few more people ran out of the crowd, and the surrounding passers-by instantly roared, leaving enough distance for the next battle. Chin Luo had noticed before that whenever someone challenged, there were always a few particularly active passers-by who booed. There is a collective name for such a person, and that is two. This invitation originally revealed the strangeness of why several people gathered to come, and why there were waves of challengers coming, especially when there were several professional supporters in the crowd. Chin Luo scratched his cheek, he seemed to know what was going on. I want to challenge you. At this moment, a voice interrupted Chin Luo. Among the group of people who came out to challenge, there was an unknown guy who drew his sword and pointed at Chin Luo. You are such a clever little devil. Chin Luo can probably understand why this, bold and careful, challenger chose him. Except for the rich businessman, Chin Luo looked at the most harmless people. Of course, it is not ruled out that this person took out the script and deliberately tested Chin Luo. No matter what it is, now Chin Luo is thinking about how to reward this lucky one. You seem to have made a mistake. I didn't sign up for the martial arts conference. Chin Luo walked out, and with a flash, he appeared behind the challenger. The challenger turned his head to look at Chin Luo who was close at hand, his hand holding the sword trembled a little. But someone challenges me and I'll gladly accept it. Chapter 653 Assassinate by the way. Actions are sometimes the best explanation. When Chin Luo appeared beside him at the speed of teleportation, the one who challenged Chin Luo knew that he had hit the steel plate. He turned around with difficulty and looked at Chin Luo. If possible, he would like to say something on the spot. Bro, I'm joking. Unlike the one who challenged Chin Luo, his companions were more calm than him. Although they all pretended to be shocked, but everyone, didn't anyone tell you that your acting skills suck? This is the first time Chin Luo has seen this kind of shock that twitched the corners of his mouth. But Chin Luo glanced at someone who had successfully transmitted the local shaking of his hand to his whole body. As Chin Luo put his hand on the challenger's shoulder, the sword fell to the ground. Unless the actor is possessed, ordinary people can't do it to this extent. And the group of people who were scheming and acting clumsily to the point of exploding, when they saw that Chin Luo didn't pay attention to them, they began to move around. The most annoying thing is that these people still feel that they have successfully deceived Chin Luo. They quietly took out the firearms hidden on them. The gun is a good gun. It is a conscience product of the Calgary Arms Factory. It is slightly larger than an ordinary pistol. The special feature is its 2-finger thick barrel, which is very lethal at first glance. This is a single shotgun, and a large amount of shrapnel can smash a person within a meter into a sieve. Now there are 8 such guns firing at Chin Luo at the same time. Achieving this level is not a challenge that can be explained. This kind of behavior, Chin Luo decisively came up with a name, the Wade family. For a period of time, the Wade family has never given up revenge against Chin Luo. Poisoning, sniping, framing and other means have emerged one after another, but every time they are parried by Chin Luo. Apart from abruptly enriching the lives of Chin Luo and the 4 of them in Calgary, these revenge did nothing. Chin Luo wanted to say something to a family. In this show, the Wade family arranged a special performance for Chin Luo. Has the hidden fangs finally leaked out? But just having a good appetite is not enough. With this level of assassination, the Wade family should worry about whether their teeth will be broken by Chin Luo. No matter how fast the bullet is fired, there will eventually be a time to react, which is enough for Chin Luo. Chin Luo could even think of 100 ways to deal with this situation, but since there were so many audiences around at the moment, Chin Luo chose the least conspicuous way. That is to use speed to dodge these bullets. This made the challenger next to Chin Luo suffer. Although these bullets were all aimed at Chin Luo, after Chin Luo got out of the way, he became the victim of these bullets. What a disaster! The ferocious shrapnel shredded the fragile flesh and blood, and the blood splattered made the surrounding passers-by sluggish. Although battles and challenges cannot avoid death, such a bloody death is rare. Chin Luo's figure flashed, and he appeared on the spot here, as if he had not moved. For this challenger, Chin Luo did not feel innocent. When he was encouraged to challenge Chin Luo as the first bird, he was already betrayed by his companions. The best outcome is that Chin Luo died together, and his companion didn't worry that he was by Chin Luo's side when he shot. But these men soon followed in the footsteps of the challengers. While they lied to others as bait, they didn't know that they were just a pawn or a consumable in the hands of others. It's not Chin Luo's hands. The moment those people fired the bullets, the guns in these people's hands had done their job. These people threw away their guns desperately, not because they wanted to, but because their precious guns were constantly getting hot. After the bullet was fired, the bomb hidden in the gun was activated, and the hot casing was a sign that the bomb had reached the critical point of explosion. No. A few shrill howls were their last words. Afterwards, the fire of the explosion swept them, including Chin Luo of course. This can be said to be very Bin Laden. Chin Luo's difficult Wade family is fully aware of, and this clear understanding is based on repeated failed revenge. In short, the Wade family's hatred for Chin Luo is getting bigger and bigger. With such a little damage and means, if you can catch Chin Luo by surprise, you can still make some achievements, but if you want to kill Chin Luo, it is not enough. The explosion caused a lot of smoke and flames. Fortunately, the surrounding melon eaters were far enough apart that they were not affected by the bombs and shrapnel. The real backhand came after the explosion. While Chin Luo was surrounded by fire and smoke, the killers who were hiding in the crowd ran out, and at the same time, gunmen emerged from the roadside buildings and shot frantically at the place where Chin Luo was. Under the cover of shooting, the killers rushed into the smoke and besieged Chin Luo. Thanks to the martial arts conference, more and more people of extraordinary strength have gathered in Calgary. The employment of killers is much easier than before. The Wade family is enjoying this kind of benefits. A flute sounded, and Taiyu also shot. She obviously couldn't accept that so many people wanted to assassinate her boss in front of her. The right hand plays the flute, the left hand draws the sword. The sword danced a beautiful sword flower into Yuya's hand and was taken back. The sword move was just a cover, the murderous intent came from the sound of Yuya's flute, and those gunmen were dragged into the phantom without exception, showing a sluggish appearance. When the long knives were sheathed and the whistle stopped, all the gunmen fell to the ground. Qin Luo also decided the winner. A hurricane blew out of the smoke at Qin Luo's location, dispelling all the flames and smoke. The people present could finally see the situation inside, the blood of the corpses all over the place, and the spotless Qin Luo. 5.7 A black thing is fading from Qin Luo's hands, it looks so familiar. Unlike previous waves of challengers who were defeated, this time there was no applause, and no free wine. Everyone was immersed in this assassination and Qin Luo's sharp methods. Don't take passers-by for fools, this situation is too far from the challenge. After returning to the 7-man team, the attitudes of the other contestants in the team to Qin Luo changed a lot, and they put away their previous contempt. Qin Luo and a few people exchanged opinions and then continued going. Because of the successive waves of challenges, they have wasted a lot of time, and if they don't go, they will be late. Qin Luo patted his butt a few times and left, leaving behind all the mess and trouble for Marine, who was late. Chapter 654 Small Request. Unsurprisingly, Qin Luo and his party were the last. It was not the first time for Qin Luo to come to the dinosaur family's manor, but the number of guests invited this time exceeded Qin Luo's imagination. Most of the manor was set up as a splendid banquet. At this moment, there are more than 100 people in the manor, not including the contestants of the 6 divisions of Vegapunk's Family and Friends Group, North Blue. So, there are so many people. When Qin Luo and the others entered the dinosaur family manor, they received a lot of attention, and it was still the kind of rather subtle contempt. Everyone was a little confused, and only after inquiring did they understand the whole story. 24 teams were invited, each with 6 members, divided into 24 directions and set off to the manor at the same time. Each team goes through 6 challenges along the way. Each team faces equal challengers. So basically it can be considered that the sooner you arrive at the manor, the stronger the team will be. But Qin Luo's team was different from the other 19 teams. Not only did they have one more Qin Luo, but they also had an extra round of challengers, which took a lot of time. This is a performance show, specially used to warm up the martial arts conference in a few days. Judging from the lively situation in Calgary that day, this purpose was perfectly achieved. Even if there is no advance notice, there are many people watching the lively on the street. This move is also beneficial to the invited contestants, who will skip the audition directly and enter the points competition. Through this show of muscles, no one will question the strength of these players. After being inexplicably despised, the 7-person team that was not familiar with them immediately disbanded. When they left, they looked at Qin Luo and seemed to have a little opinion. It's boring, I'm also a victim, okay. I didn't even participate in the competition. If Qin Luo thought it was his fault, it was impossible at that time. What you said is very true. I don't know when, the housekeeper of the dinosaur family was already standing behind Qin Luo. Qin Luo turned around and looked at the housekeeper, then said, "What a coincidence, housekeeper. Are you the E. coli in my stomach? Why does it seem like you came over as soon as I arrived?" This is a tasteful answer, regardless of where the E. coli is in the human body. The housekeeper turned his head in disgust and said, "I feel that Mr. You helped us. As soon as I received the notice of your arrival, I left. Also, the master said that he had something to discuss with Mr. Qin Luo thought about it and didn't refuse this opportunity. It just so happened that he also wanted to ask the patriarch of the dinosaur family about something. Darwin met Qin Luo in his study. Before Qin Luo spoke, Darwin took the initiative to talk about Qin Luo being challenged to ambush. "I was also negligent here. I didn't expect the Wade family to dare to provoke Mr. at this time. In order to express his apology, Darwin also took off his hat and apologized. Looking sincere, Chin Luo can guarantee that Darwin has no apology. No matter how crazy the Wade family is, they can't bypass the dinosaur family and secretly set up a trap today. Whatever you say, Chin Luo will lose if he listens to one of the punctuation marks. It doesn't matter, but there is one thing I really want to know. I'm not a contestant. Why did Patriarch Darwin invite me? Chin Luo stood up from his seat and walked to the windowsill. The afternoon sun was facing the direction of the study, illuminating Darwin's entire study brightly. After Chin Luo walked to the edge of the windowsill, the sun was blocked by Chin Luo, making the room a little dark. Actually this time, I want to invite Mr. to be the judge of the martial arts conference in a few days. Darwin said slowly. Edit, you edit again. Chin Luo sneered in his heart, because Darwin didn't even find his own name, so he dared to invite himself to be a judge. Could it be that he put Mr. X on his own review stage? Furthermore, you are just a smashing competition, and you want a chicken judge, because you think the contestants are not coquettish enough, or they think their moves are not innovative enough. To put it bluntly, I don't want to calculate Chin Luo, and then use Chin Luo to absorb Marine's attention. It's better to go to the Wade family to get revenge, causing the city to be full of storms. The abacus was good, but Chin Luo didn't take the bait. First of all, in terms of finding so much fun for himself, Chin Luo has no plans to clean up the Wade family for the time being. In addition, the move Chin Luo used this time was not to make his palm bigger. Chin Luo adopted a very One Piece, King of Pirates approach. Armament hockey who blocked the explosions and bullets, as many in the audience saw it and couldn't fake it. This even affected Darwin's guess about Chin Luo's identity. You must know that neither Chin Luo nor Lu Yun have ever revealed their hockey in front of others. Hockey is actually not difficult to learn. First, Roger is the Enlightenment tutor, and Momoshige is a personal guide. Chin Luo quickly mastered armament and observation hockey, and even Conqueror hockey has reached the entry level. To put it bluntly, it depends on the aptitude. As long as you have it, the epiphany is completely the basic operation. Chin Luo refused. The Darwin family is joking. How can I do the review with my strength? I, an outsider, should rest. Really don't think about it. No. Afterwards, Darwin asked Chin Luo a few more things. He seemed to always want Chin Luo to show his hatred in front of everyone. Speaking of which, when will the conditions promised to me by Patriarch Darwin be fulfilled? Chin Luo was referring to the 007 items that the butler gave him when he wanted someone, which included the transaction of arms and dinosaur meat. How about armed prosthetics? I can prepare a batch if your husband needs it. Darwin stared at Chin Luo and asked. That thing, forget it. But if I can, I have a request. Looking out the window, Chin Luo suddenly turned around, shook his head and said, so disgusting. Unexpectedly, Chin Luo would suddenly turn around, and his eyes were directly on the noon sun. Under the contrast of light and dark, Darwin was a little blinded by the dazzling sunlight, so he didn't notice the mysterious pattern in Chin Luo's eyes. With a snap of his fingers, Darwin woke up from his drowsiness and quickly shook his head. What happened to me just now? Darwin was still in a trance. It seems that I was dazzled by the sun. Chin Luo pointed to the window behind him, with an inexplicable smile on the corner of his mouth. Really? Someone continued in a trance. Chin Luo didn't care, and said slowly, what does Patriarch Darwin think about my request just now? O_O. Just take me to visit the Dinosaur Research Institute. Can Patriarch Darwin agree? As a buyer of dinosaur meat, it is not unacceptable to visit the Research Institute. Chapter 655 Unknown Number 00. Seeing Chin Luo's half-smile but not smiling, Darwin's heart panicked. The dinosaur family's Dinosaur Research Institute is no secret, but when it comes to research results, only dinosaur meat can be obtained. Dinosaur meat seems to be rare, but it is also a higher-level material. In most cases, it is used as a high-level ingredient. When Chin Luo said he wanted dinosaur meat before, Darwin didn't expect the other party to have such a request. It is impossible to refuse, and doing so is simply guilty of being a thief. Darwin pretended to readily agree to Chin Luo, and set the time after the audition of the martial arts conference. After sending Chin Luo away, the housekeeper came in and saw Darwin with an uncertain face. Without waiting for the housekeeper to ask, Darwin took the lead and said, "How long have I chatted with that person in the study?" Although he wondered why his master would ask this, the butler answered truthfully, "About 7 minutes." Darwin still couldn't forget his loss just now. It was a strange feeling. "I feel something is very wrong, but I can't say what is strange. The existence of this kind of situation is the most strange." It was as if a blank had appeared in his memory. 7 minutes, Darwin muttered. This time is too short. Just the conversation between him and Chin Luo just now. 7 minutes is barely enough. There is not much time for the other party to play tricks. Darwin couldn't think of a reason, because he didn't know some things were enough for a second. This question was finally forgotten by Darwin because he couldn't figure it out. He decided that he would never meet Chin Luo alone again in the future. This kind of behavior is really dangerous. "Housekeeper, after the materials at the institute have been replenished in the past few days, don't send anything inside," Darwin ordered. The butler looked at Darwin suspiciously, and then the butler expressed his concerns. "Okay. But this way, the doctor is likely to be dissatisfied." Darwin said, "Don't worry about him. Prepare some more materials to send in these days. Recently, there are so many people, so you can't send things frequently. Also, let people clean up the Dinosaur Institute and make it cleaner." But the request made by the man just now. The housekeeper is not stupid at all. Chin Luo made so many changes as soon as he left Darwin. 9 times out of 10, it was the request made by the master. "There is nothing to hide about this," Darwin said. "He wants to visit the Dinosaur Research Institute. You can accompany him to visit after the martial arts conference begins." The housekeeper smiled bitterly. The patriarch was unwilling to face the mysterious and terrifying Chin Luo. Did he just think about it? The start of the Budo tournament is approaching, and Vegapunk's research team is working overtime to create rewards for the Budo tournament winners. To create 16 armed prosthetics in one go, even if the materials are sufficient, this task is not enough. Congratulations, everyone, the experimental items in the number 07 cultivation chamber have been completed. Very good, there are still a few to finish. I look at the number 03 training warehouse and the number 11 training warehouse. These two are missing. Then hurry up, I hope to catch up. My God, it's almost over. I swear I'm going to get a good night's sleep after this. There was a commotion in the institute. At this moment, in the largest research room of the institute, the original 9 glass jars have been expanded to 17. Each group of 2 glass jars is surrounded by a group of researchers making various experimental records. The glass jar in the middle was the largest and the most deserted. There was only Vegapunk on the side of the glass jar. This is a research belonging to Vegapunk alone, and it is also the core experiment of the entire research team. Scholars from the entire research team are working on Vegapunk's research. But in fact, in addition to Vegapunk's request, other scholars were unable and unwilling to participate in this research. The former is because Vegapunk's consent is required, and the latter is unknown. The number 00 cultivation chamber, which is the glass jar where Vegapunk's unique research body is located. Whether it is the original number 01 to number 08 training warehouses, or the newly added number 09 to number 16 training warehouses, they are all used to train armed prosthetics, and the experimental objects in them are all part of the limbs, such as a pair of eyes, a pair of hands, a pair of wings, etc. But the number 00 cultivation warehouse is different. He is used to train a person, or a demon. A hideous-looking experimental body is suspended in the culture medium. Horns, fangs, eagle eyes, pterosaur wings, lizard tail, sharp claws, hooves. After so many parts are added to a human body, it is obvious that it can no longer be called a human being. It's no wonder that there have been rumors that Kaido is the product of Marine's human experiments, and the two are indeed somewhat similar. However, compared to Vegapunk's experiment number 00, Kaido looked much kinder. Demon, also known as experiment number 00, has all kinds of strange lines on his purple-black skin, a big hole in his chest, and his heart was dug out. This wound is not without reason. It is also related to two accidents in the laboratory. When the research team was just established, two researchers died at the hands of Subject 00. An unconscious corpse can kill itself, which completely subverts the researcher's cognition, and also causes no one to touch the experimental body. Until Vegapunk took the heart of the 00 experimental body later, such a thing no longer happened, and no scholars other than Vegapunk had touched this experimental body. All starting work is done with tools through glass jars. Oh, and one more thing, the demon heart that was said to have been destroyed was not only not destroyed, it was still kept in Vegapunk's hands. It's moving again. Looking at Subject 00, Vegapunk's eyes revealed a dangerous aura. Since that time when the unformed devil fruit was smashed and the essence was injected into the devil's heart, Subject 00 seems to be slowly regaining activity. The biggest evidence is the claw-like hands that are constantly being squeezed. Vegapunk is too familiar with his experimental subject, and he will see any changes in it. What did you say? The scholar who helped record the data asked without looking up. It's nothing, I mean your experiments are almost finished, but I can't do anything here. Vegapunk decided to keep the information withheld, otherwise the entire experimental team would riot. To put it horribly, I would rather your experiment never succeed. Vegapunk, you are resurrecting the devil. Although it is a bit exaggerated, this is indeed the voice of the scholar. Chapter 656 Trials begin. The calendar turns a page and a new month begins. The gradually cooler weather can't stop people's enthusiasm. On this day, the long-awaited First North Blue Martial Arts Conference will finally begin. The air was a little raucous, with large numbers of tourists and Calgary residents flocking to Calgary's harbor. After 3 celebrities gave speeches in place of the Budo tournament, the audition will be held here. The 3 representatives are Darwin, the patriarch of the Dinosaur family, Vinsmoke, the current king of the Germa kingdom, and Marine Quasi-Admiral Kuzan. In terms of identity and strength, apart from the hidden Chin Luo and Doflamingo, there is no one more suitable than them. However, Marine's representative had a bit of a problem. This is Kuzan. Even the most advanced cosmetic surgery can't change a person's body shape. Chin Luo pointed to the Kuzan, prospective admiral who was speaking on behalf of Marine. The current Kuzan is a whole head taller than this person. Don't think that if you have a wavy hairstyle like Kuzan, others will not be able to see it. This person is the adjutant next to Kuzan. I have met several times before. Momoshige must be the first in terms of the degree of recognition of Marine's general. That's weird. What trick is Kuzan playing with his adjutant? He is playing the whole North Blue people like monkeys. Chin Luo said jokingly. But can the other 657 people really not recognize it? This is Marine's quasi-admiral, the man who will shake the world for years to come. Not to mention Darwin and old Vinsmoke, it is estimated that a large number of people can see that it is not Kuzan on stage. Just see through and not say through. I heard from Duoyu that Kuzan seems to have signed up for the audition. Isn't he really going to end? Chin Luo suddenly remembered a certain message and said involuntarily. In response to Chin Luo, Momoshige nodded affirmatively. Really, Kuzan is also a master who can do everything. The captain of the Sea-Bike Law Enforcement Brigade, the initiator of the criminal Robin personal protection operation, isn't he the one who said it? For a time, looking for Kuzan became another great pleasure for Chin Luo to watch the audition. If Kuzan was called out in the audition ring, the registration for the martial arts conference is almost zero threshold, so in a month or so, a lot of people signed up. As the organizer, the Dinosaur family naturally couldn't let these people fight one by one. As mentioned before, the competition is divided into 3 parts: audition, points competition and final knockout. Most of the parallel import contestants will be eliminated in the audition. For the truly powerful players, the audition is not difficult. A total of 12 arenas have been built on the sea at Calgary's port. With a transport ship as the base, a square wooden arena with a side length of 20 meters floats on the sea, divided into 4 rows and 3 columns. The rules of the audition competition are very simple. 20 contestants will be randomly placed in the arena for each competition. Falling into the sea and losing consciousness were both rated as failures. So as long as you don't kill people, any means are allowed. The final winner belongs to the person who remains in the ring after the allotted time has elapsed. However, this quota is limited, and once there are more than 2 people, it means that the whole group will fail. The audition is a double elimination system. Each contestant has 2 chances to lose. The loser is eliminated, and the winner prepares for the next round until all the points are determined. The water in the audition is a bit watery, and luck by various means may change the result of the game. But so what? All people in the pirate world are martial, and it may be that old Lee at the entrance of the village was a big pirate, a swordsman and the like when he was young. Therefore, in the case of such a vast number of applicants, this audition method can remove most of the water as quickly as possible. As for those who can't even pass the audition, what qualifications do they have to participate in the following competitions? There are all kinds of strange situations on the 12 audition arenas. The quick autumn wind swept the leaves in 2 or 3 minutes, and the battle was over in even less time. There was only one person left on the field, and this kind of person was a master. Slowly fell in love and killed each other, and barely decided the top 2 winners before the time wore on, but they were basically exhausted. This kind of person still needs a bit of luck to advance to the points competition. Of course, there are also extremes. Once there are 20 people of equal strength, the entire game will freeze. Yelling, "Come on, hurt each other," all the time was spent and everyone was out. Bladder bureaus are the most unpopular. I believe if there is a 10-minute limit, those guys can drag out a whole day. A burst of cheers sounded, and in the direction of the cheers, there was a lone person standing on the 5th ring. The rest of the contestants, centered on him, passed out on the ground. At this time, it was less than 5 seconds before the start of this match on the 5th ring. The red-haired Shanks stood in the center of the ring, leaning on the unsheathed knife with one hand and pressing the straw hat on his head with the other, showing a faint smile. The winner of the 5th ring, the captain of the red-haired pirates, Shanks. After the MC excitedly announced the winner's identity, the sound of landslides and tsunamis arrived in an instant. Shanks didn't have any unease. His handsome appearance and king-like attitude instantly gained him a lot of popularity. Countless young girls and ladies glared at Shanks without hesitation. Of course, if Shanks is willing to break the prejudice of the world, there are also gay eyes. Shanks waved unhurriedly, as if such a stage was originally prepared for him, and he was born to be noticed and admired by the world. No wonder Shanks wants to sign up for the audition. Chin Luo pointed at Shanks, who is so angry now. The red hair pirates do need to mention bounty and fame, Olivia said calmly. Then he will definitely get what he wants today, Conqueror Hockey. No one will miss this as soon as he comes up. Chin Luo scolded with a smile. Shanks is really ready to be in the limelight, except for the weapon of causality. The fruit of face has not been activated. He has already brought out the strongest ability in his hand. A few days before the start of the audition, the official of the martial arts conference organized a show event, and produced a group of players who put going into the points competition, as there a feeling of closeness. People call the masters who really came out of the auditions, dark horses. Because of Shanks' activity, countless forces have noticed him and the red hair pirates, and they are still one of the biggest, dark horses, in the audition. But this is only the beginning. After the name of the red-haired pirates continued to be heard, the world began to understand the future 4 emperors that had not yet formed. The number of dark horses is not small, but they should all appear on the first day, and most of the people in the next few days are make-up people. Chapter 657 Orochimaru's New Toy. If there is no special reason, the players will not release water in the first round of the audition. The number of points released is fixed. In the event of a shortage of places, those players who performed poorly will have to participate in the competition again even if they have won the previous competition. Therefore, it is necessary to win the whole group with the attitude of first place, which can reduce a lot of trouble. The North Blue royal family proved to be easier than expected, and in the end all members of the Red Hair Pirates participated in the competition. In addition to Shanks himself, Beckman, the deputy captain of the Red Hair Pirates, also made a lot of limelight. Beckman's one-handed gun-fighting technique took down the other 19 members of the group one by one. It took less than a minute in total, and it was promoted lightly. Although the other crew members were not so easy, they all won without a single overturn. In the audition, the red-haired pirates deserved to be the hottest force. Thanks to his previously unknown reputation and the handsome performance of a certain captain, most of the audience are fans of the Red Hair Pirates. In contrast, there are two factions that have also shown strong strength, but their reputation is not better than that of the Red Hair Pirates. One is the Don Quixote Pirates, an old acquaintance of North Blue. After loaning Corazon out, Doflamingo himself joined a group of his men. Still very interested in the top 16 prizes. Familiar with familiarity, the Don Quixote Pirates have a great reputation in North Blue, but they are not all that good. Just like they showed in the ring, bloody, domineering, busy and unreasonable. Because the audition is only forbidding people's lives, the officials of the Don Quixote family stuck to the rules and made a scene. In the arena, except for his own people, all of them were beaten until they were injured, and the means were extremely bloody. Even if these people are lucky enough to be rescued, they will not be able to participate in the make-up exam for the audition a few days later due to their injuries. Doflamingo didn't even have any intention of disguising his identity. He walked into the ring carelessly, and then used the string fruit to control the others in the group to have a cannibalistic puppet show. Doflamingo, on the other hand, was sitting on the edge of the ring, admiring it all. Shudder, no one dared to stand up and say that Doflamingo was not, and the referee couldn't wait to announce the winner as Doflamingo. The other force is quite special. There is obvious commonality between their people, but no one can find the connection between these people. These people come from various places, including non-North Blue ones, and some of them are well known in the places where they were active and recognized by the audience. It is such a bunch of people who can't fight with 8 poles, but they have one thing in common. Whenever the situation is anxious, they will burst out their true strength. The first person to be noticed was a North Blue pirate, who had his hands chopped off a long time ago and used a pair of iron hooks on his severed hands. With his strength, he would not be able to enter the points competition without a certain amount of luck. In his group, there are at least 4 who are stronger than him, and they are here to accompany him. Even his pirate companions have no hope for him. When the pirate was about to be kicked out of the ring, black runes surged on him, and strange power burned his whole body, dyeing his skin gray-black. With a shrill roar, the 2 iron hooks on the pirate's severed limbs shattered together, and a pair of brand new hands grew out. A large number of scale armors generally spread on his arms, full of barbs. This is not a pair of hands, but a pair of big killers. When the 2 arms were combined, the size exceeded the pirate's body, and the length was even dragged to the knee. The pirate who had already fallen out of the ring grabbed the edge of the ring with one hand and pulled it sharply. After a while in the arena, there is a tendency to dump in the direction of the pirates. However, this trend has not happened yet. The part of the wooden arena was directly dragged down by the pirates, and the pirates took advantage of the situation to soar into the sky. After reaching the highest point, the pirates fell straight into the center of the ring like a cannonball. There was a muffled sound of boom, the boat supporting the ring sank, and a large number of waves shot out from both sides of the ring. When the splashes dissipated, the pirates were already killing off with a pair of weird arms. No one in this group is a one-trick foe for his hands. Just one shot will be stunned, and any punch can make people vomit blood and fly out of the ring. There are 5 similar cases. These people have undergone some kind of mutation in the body after the outbreak, or obtained some kind of organ that is impossible for humans. But what they have in common is that these mutations are powerful enough to sweep through all enemies in front of them. And after the battle, these mutations will return to their original state, and the user will become quite haggard. Don't you think this is similar to Orochimaru's spell? Tsunade, who had not spoken much, said softly beside Chinluo. I think it looks like it too. Chinluo was basically sure that these were Orochimaru's handwriting. Before Orochimaru got some information from the Cherno Research Institute, maybe these are what Orochimaru has just researched. But this is too ferocious, not only for the enemy, but also for the user. Chinluo Rinnegan saw was not just the haggardness of these people. After using his ability once, they lost a lot of their lives. 0. But Chinluo wouldn't say it. He couldn't control Orochimaru's experiments with these people. The progress of science always requires sacrifice. Chinluo opened his mouth and stopped talking. He didn't care if he didn't see it. Telling these things to Tsunade and the others would only arouse their disgust. By Orochimaru's new toy, many forces saw the value of this strange ability. Is it a weapon or some kind of special move? The frequent appearance of sides means that this ability is reproducible, and many forces can't wait to figure out what is going on. After the game, a large crowd of people waited in the rest area of the players on the dock for these 6 special acting guys. But the ending is definitely not what they thought. None of these 6 guys saw any of them. After the game, these people jumped into the sea and disappeared instantly. Only a few people could clearly see what was going on. At the moment when the 6 people jumped into the sea, a huge black shadow swallowed them and disappeared into the deep sea at a very fast speed. Chinluo could see clearly that this was a sea snake more than 10 meters long. Orochimaru, apart from this guy, Chinluo couldn't find anyone else who played snakes so smoothly. When things got to this point, Chinluo couldn't help but think of the script of the Naruto Chunin exam. Orochimaru wouldn't want to do it again here. And whether he himself has been mixed in with these players. Chapter 658 A Snake Smell. Compared with the martial arts conference that lasted for a month, the time left for the audition was very short, only less than 5 days. Except for the first day, Chinluo didn't bother to watch the following games. Just as Chinluo had guessed, the masters who are basically decided on the first day. The following, make-up exams, can't be said to have no surprises, but most of them are pecking at each other. Chinluo didn't have much hope for finding Orochimaru and Kuzan hidden among the contestants. Since these people want to sneak into the points competition, they still don't disguise themselves so that they can't even recognize their own mother. On the night of the audition, Chinluo went directly to Orochimaru's current residence in Calgary after dinner. Stepping on the bumpy road, from time to time, there will be stains such as diesel oil on the feet, and the air is filled with the thick smell of gunpowder. According to Orochimaru's request, Fadisi arranged his residence and temporary research institute in a small building in the old warehouse area of Calgary. In disrepair, and the road traffic is inconvenient, fewer and fewer people come here. That's right, these warehouses are full of all kinds of arms and ammunition that are old but no one buys at all. The smell of gunpowder in the air all comes from the leaking of gunpowder from bullets and shells. It's just a powder keg that explodes at one point. Because of this, no one wanted to live nearby anymore, which made it easier for Orochimaru to act. Turning around an alley, the small building where Orochimaru is located is in front. "Boy, get out of the way." As they turned a corner, a vulgar male voice sounded. And because of the narrow alley, the two almost collided when turning a corner. There are still people in such a ghost place. This was the first thought that came to Chinluo's mind. Immediately, Chinluo looked at the people who came. He has a tuft of mustache, frowning eyes, and a dirty windbreaker on his body. The half-opened eyes were rolling, and it seemed that there were a lot of valuable things on Chinluo's body. It looks like a habitual thief has committed an occupational disease. Go away, I took your eyes off. Chin Luo said disdainfully. The man said something cruel before, and after staring at Chin Luo for a few times, he should have seen that Chin Luo was not a good stubborn, so he ran away from Chin Luo and Chin Luo sullenly. In an instant, Chin Luo smelled a special smell from the man. A smell of snakes. This is a special smell that can only be found in the Orochimaru Research Institute. This person has something to do with Orochimaru. Chin Luo wondered in his heart. When he went to find the man again, there was no trace of that man in the alley. Chin Luo met Orochimaru in the basement of the small building where Orochimaru was. Chin Luo sat on a large table in the research room and watched Orochimaru constantly tinkering with the pile of bottles in front of him. You attended the martial arts conference? Chin Luo asked at gate of opening. Without looking back, Orochimaru continued his experiment and said, how could I not participate in such an interesting event? Not only is it lively, but there are also various masters, and the prizes for the top 16 are also very attractive. In addition, there are a lot of experimental items. Free testing, such a good thing is not many this year. Quote. The last sentence is your real purpose, Chin Luo complained inwardly. Did you come up with those guys who are similar to curse marks? Chin Luo said. Chin Luo did not use interrogative sentences, but in the form of affirmative sentences, which meant that you have come up with something again, let me see. Hearing this, Orochimaru didn't stop his movements, but took the time to snap his fingers. Crack! The basement wall opened on its own, and a row of glass jars appeared in front of Chin Luo's eyes. The glass jars were the same size, enough to easily accommodate the next person. And Orochimaru did the same. Among the 15 glass jars in total, there were 8 people floating around, including the 6 who were brilliant in yesterday's audition. Hygiene Type 1 Experimental Body. Combining the data obtained before, on the basis of the ZC series of pills, I developed a spell seal suitable for the world of pirates. Orochimaru proudly introduced his new work, like it's a father showing his child to others. As far as the mouth is concerned, Orochimaru still has a good hand when it comes to disgusting people. Chin Luo asked, how is the effect? What are the side effects? After pouring the prepared potion into 8 human glass jars, Orochimaru paused the work in his hand. The power is the same as yesterday, but the side effects are more serious. I was also inspired by that armed prosthesis. To delay the rejection phenomenon and reduce the adaptation requirements, Vegapunk is really a genius. Orochimaru's enthusiastic statement made Chin Luo a little horrified. It was more than serious. Every time he used his life, he lost half of his life. He used direct GG a few more times. Compared to the short-lived effect of the armed prosthesis, Orochimaru's spell is completely fatal. Sir, you promised me that during the time you were in Calgary, I would be free to move around. After learning that Chin Luo came to the door, Orochimaru immediately wanted to ensure that Chin Luo would not interfere with his experiments and activities. Fortunately, prepared in advance. Chin Luo thought about it and there was really one thing. Originally, I wanted to persuade Orochimaru not to mess around, but in the end, he opened his mouth angrily, but didn't say anything. Don't force others, Chin Luo said. Hey, there's no need to force it at all, these people are willing to sacrifice everything for their strength. Orochimaru raised the corner of his mouth with a little grin. Orochimaru is not mocking Chin Luo, but expresses disdain for these experiments. The ones that can be soaked in these glass jars, it's not who Orochimaru is targeting, he means that the whole audience is full of rubbish. Facing power and hatred, a protagonist genius like Sasuke was kidnapped by Orochimaru, not to mention these. Basically, a lie is a quasi, willing to lie on the test bench. Chin Luo skipped the topic. Someone just left from Yuan 1.8. Oh, my material supplier. He's an interesting fellow, and if you catch him, my lord, you'll be rewarded. Orochimaru looked at Chin Luo with a half-smile. He must have mastered something, but he just wanted to betray him. Is there something wrong with that person? Chin Luo said. Orochimaru nodded, but said nothing. This made Chinluo tickle his teeth angrily. His subordinates were more peculiar than others, and none of them made him worry. Chinluo once wanted to find the after-sales service of the system for goods return and exchange services. Bring it. Since Orochimaru didn't tell him, Chinluo went to find it himself. But before that, he wants something from Orochimaru. In Orochimaru's mind, all those who work with him must be marked. Chapter 659 Catching Mice. Knowing that the rejection was invalid, Orochimaru didn't ink any ink, and directly took out what Chinluo asked for. A small white snake the size of a finger slipped from Orochimaru's hand and swam to Chinluo's palm. You just follow it, as long as the distance is not more than 10 kilometers, you can't escape its induction. Orochimaru briefly introduced the usage of the little white snake. Chinluo nodded to show his understanding. Before leaving, he finally asked Orochimaru, "What materials did you buy from that person?" "As you guessed." Orochimaru pouted angrily and glanced at the entire basement. Doesn't this mean that most of the materials used in Orochimaru's experiments were provided by that person? Thinking of this, Chinluo teleported and disappeared from the basement. But what Orochimaru didn't expect was that Chinluo appeared again in less than half an hour. At the moment of appearance, Chinluo couldn't wait to ask, "Who is that person?" Chinluo's words were a little solemn. The moment when Chinluo just left the basement of Orochimaru. 19 Orochimaru's methods have always concealed evil, and Chinluo doesn't know what kind of tracking method is used, but it is definitely not relying on smell. The high-altitude vision was wider, and after applying an illusion to his body, Chinluo took Xiaobai to 100 meters in the air of the old warehouse area. In Chinluo's palm, Xiaobai was playing the game of biting his tail and turning his head in circles. After stopping, the little white snake's head looked to the northeast, motionless. This thing turned out to be a compass. Chinluo was surprised, but also happy for its simplicity and practicality. With the direction, Chinluo can easily find someone. Beta the Ratman, this cunning mercenary, is now wandering the streets in a panic. After the rat fruit mutated on him, it not only gave him the ability to become smaller, but also gave him a very sensitive ability to sense danger. This kind of thing he called rat sensing allowed him to go further and further on the timid path, while also allowing him to shyly navigate all kinds of dangerous tasks with ease. This ability to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages is incomparable to observation hockey. It is also the rat man that is greedy enough. He not only accepted the employment of Judge Vinsmoke to help him pass information. According to this information, he also did a lot of business, such as the provision of Orochi pill research materials. Thanks to the ease of advancing and retreating in Vegapunk's Research Institute, the rat man knows nothing about the materials used in the Research Institute, and he secretly prepared a batch of such materials. Although Orochimaru looked unfamiliar, and every time they met, there was an instinctive sense of fear in his body, but the rat man couldn't help but made many transactions with him. Because Orochimaru is very rewarded. The previous few times were fine, although there was a feeling of being watched, the results in the process were still good. But this time was different. The rat man who had just replenished Orochimaru was beating his heart, and he was being targeted. The rat man had doubts about Chinluo, but swear to God, it was definitely the first time the two parties met, and he didn't show any clues. But in my heart, I was constantly afraid, what could he do? After separating from Chinluo at the fastest speed, he disappeared into the alley. The rat man kept changing his clothes and going route. When Chinluo found the rat man again, the other party looked like a nobleman. Snow-white shirt, leaning on a black cane, going framed monocle with left eye. Who can associate him with the sloppy thief from before? Fangjung Chinluo couldn't do it, but the little white snake in his hand was staring at him tightly, and the snake letter child kept revealing. When Chinluo looked at him up and down, the rat man also felt a tight sensation. Nothing was more obvious than this warning, and his heart was beating wildly. As Chinluo looked at him, Chinluo's realization fell on the rat man, like being irradiated by a laser, with a clear tingling sensation. Finished, found. I don't know what method the opponent used, anyway, his disguise was seen through. Next, the rat man's mind was blank, with only one word left, and that was, run. I'm not sure yet, I just missed the mark. Chin Luo said disdainfully, and wanted to run away in front of him, which was too beautiful to think. The rat man kept changing his route and wanted to get rid of Chin Luo. No matter how perfect his methods were, Chin Luo still followed him unhurriedly. The cat catches the mouse, that is, it catches the mouse after it has been teased enough. Chin Luo's happy state of mind continued until the rat man led him into a dead end. Before entering the dead end, Chin Luo had 100 ways to persuade the rat man to pour out all the news he knew. Under such despair, Chin Luo didn't think the other side could report any luck. After clearing his throat and straightening his clothes, Chin Luo walked into the dead end to receive his captives. There are no overpasses, no tunnels, and no trash cans that can hide people. Of course, no one was there. Chin Luo saw only 3 walls when he entered the dead end. In addition to the standing water and garbage on the ground, there are several fist-sized sewer pipes, which can be said to be quite unobstructed. The clothes the rat man was wearing was neatly folded and placed in the corner, and he himself disappeared out of thin air. Chin Luo couldn't believe it, looked at the little white snake in his hand, it was still staring in the direction of the dead end. At this time, several mice ran out of the garbage heap, but they did not attract any attention from Chin Luo. Impossible. Malfunctioning. What the hell? The 3 new philosophical questions briefly expressed Chin Luo's heart at the moment. Chin Luo's eyes switched back and forth between Bian, Sharatunian, and Rinnegan. The appearance of the world in front of him changed several times, but Chin Luo still didn't see anything related to the rat man. There are no organs or passages in the walls and underground. No one can achieve this level in front of Chin Luo, especially after obtaining the full level I ability. It is like a shameful joke, but at this moment, the joke becomes a fact. Chin Luo hurriedly teleported back to Orochimaru's basement, and asked Orochimaru in a veiled manner. You chased a dead end, and then the person disappeared. No need for Chin Luo to explain. Through the little white snake, Orochimaru knew the whole process of Chin Luo looking for someone. Well, Chin Luo said. Didn't you see a few mice? Facing Orochimaru's rambling words, Chin Luo recalled and nodded. That's right, this mercenary has an animal fruit ability, a rat man fruit, and if it has the ability, it should turn into a mouse. Orochimaru said calmly. At the same time, the pipes in the basement shook, and a snake with a thick arm emerged from the sewer pipe with a mouse in its mouth. Chapter 660 The Mouse Returns to the Hole. Chin Luo was not stupid. He immediately understood that the goal was not to disappear, but to disguise himself as a mouse and hide in the garbage. Orochimaru's forefoot hinted that Chin Luo was going to catch his material supplier, and he was caught back after Chin Luo missed. In this case, why didn't Orochimaru leave this person at the beginning? Chin Luo couldn't understand why. Then put him down and ask him what he knows. Chin Luo said, pointing to the mouse in the snake's mouth. This snake, which climbed out of the sewer, crawled to the feet of Orochimaru with the mouse in its mouth, and offered its prey to Orochimaru in general. At least at this moment, Chin Luo was quite sure that this mouse was the target he had just lost. What to put down? Orochimaru glanced at Chin Luo blankly, took out the mouse from the snake's mouth, and threw it on the ground. Chin Luo thought badly, this is not a target that can disguise as a mouse, but a real mouse. The fact that the mouse changed back to its prototype did not happen, but the mouse that had been pretending to be dead came to life the moment it fell to the ground, and ran away without a trace. The Orochi left together, and after being signaled by Orochimaru, it slowly crawled into a sewer. It didn't take long for the escaped mouse to be caught again, the same prey, the same hunter. Snakes have a unique way of marking. As long as the prey is marked by them, no matter how far they run, they will be slowly caught up. Orochimaru is telling Chin Luo that if he can't tell which mouse is, the little white snake handed to him can do it. Orochimaru's loyalty to Chinluo is beyond doubt, but Orochimaru is by no means a qualified subordinate, he has his own ideas. What is useful to him has the value of existence, and if it is not useful, it is life and death. And this mercenary was useful to him in providing experimental materials. This is why Orochimaru can tell Chinluo that there is something wrong with this person, and also help Chinluo arrest people, but he will not do it himself. Orochimaru was not worried that the mercenary would die if he fell into Chinluo's hands. When Chinluo asked about the mercenary's secret, Chinluo was reluctant to kill him. Orochimaru has such confidence. The mercenary rat man rummaging through the rubbish heaps, he tried his best to portray himself as a rat looking for something to eat. The rat man is patient enough that he can even play for hours, staying away from here until late at night when no one suspects it. Relying on this method, he has now escaped countless pursuits. But this time the rat man's luck ran out. Because of his caution, he did not escape this dead end while Chinluo was looking for Orochimaru. So he was blocked by Chinluo, who was looking for him again. The little white snake in Chinluo's hand dug the ratman beta out of the garbage. The half-meter-long snake body wrapped around the rat man, wrapping it so that it could not move. Don't look at the small white snake. After being entangled, the rat man beta couldn't break free, and even changing back to a human appearance became an extravagant dream. Holding his tail, Chinluo lifted the ratman beta upside down in the air. "Mr. Rat, I have caught you." The mouse lifted by Chinluo struggled to stab, his dark eyes revealing deep fear and sadness. Chinluo has never seen a mouse with such rich eyes, so he can't be wrong. Chinluo brought the rat man to Tayuya, and even Orochimaru was interested in the secrets hidden by this man, so it was very valuable to dig. Chinluo has prepared several torture packages for him, but don't let him down. 2 days later, the rat man beta returned to the research institute where Vegapunk and others were hiding with the news from the old Vinsmoke. "You're half a day late." When the rat man pushed open the door of the room and sneaked in, a cold voice sounded behind him. Judge Vinsmoke hid behind the door of the room at some point, and seemed to be waiting for him to come back. A lot of cold sweat wet the back of Beta the Ratman. If it weren't for the rat form, Ratman Beta would definitely be seen by Judge Vinsmoke differently. "A little accident," said Beta the Ratman. Judge glanced at him coldly for a moment. "Don't do this next time. I know you have some business outside, but if it affects the Vinsmoke family's plans, you don't need me to tell you about your fate." Ratman Beta breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that his mission was exposed before it even started. It turned out that Judge Vinsmoke just knew that he was taking private work. Ratman Beta pretended to be sincere and said, "Don't worry, there will never be another time. I will not neglect the task that the boss ordered." Judge is satisfied with this reply. "Forgive you, but talk about the situation outside." Judge Vinsmoke's conceit made him miss the only chance to find out what was wrong with Ratman Beta, and Ratman Beta was more cautious after that. "The audition will be over tomorrow." Ratman Beta truthfully told what he had inquired about, including the information of some players and the work of various forces. The focus is of course on Marine, the Dinosaur family and the Don Quixote pirates. "Tell me about that mysterious force carefully." Judge became interested when he heard the Ratman Beta introduce the people who could transform. His sense of smell was always sharp enough in terms of technology and power. He had never heard of such a strange ability. This ability to burst out terrifying aggression only when transformed is somewhat better than armed prosthetics. But Orochimaru's new toy can't be described in a few words. Ratman Beta said for a long time that the feeling he gave to Judge was that he was very fierce, and he could transform into a variety of strange things. Other than that, nothing was heard. Inquire more about this during the knockout rounds. This technology has the same effect as armed prosthetics. If possible, Judge even wanted Ratman Beta to bring in a video. Judge finally asked about Germa Kingdom's plans in recent days. Ratman Beta has 2 tasks. In addition to guiding the people from the Kingdom of Germa to the Research Institute, the other task is to be responsible for the information transfer between Vinsmoke's father and son. This father and son have planned for so long, just to make a big vote, and they can't satisfy their appetite just by bringing a little technology back. But now, he has a new task. The memories of the past few days are still very clearly engraved in the mind of the rat man Beta. Within 3 days, he had to figure out the residences of several key scientists at the Institute, and Vegapunk was at the top of those lists.